The regular meeting of the Township of Belleville Zoning Board of Adjustment for August 1st, 2019 will now come to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Bennett. Here. Caruso. Giordano. Lopez.
Here.
Lozoy. Here. Petalino.
Here.
Sheldon.
Here.
Milano.
Here.
Del Garcia.
Here. Will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary has noticed that this meeting been held in accordance with the Sunshine Law.
Certification of meeting has been advertised according to the sunshine.
Okay, I want to make an announcement. Will anyone, board members, anybody who has a cell phone, please set them to vibrate only, please, because we do not want anything to interfere with the meeting. Also, it's being recorded, so we don't want to have any problems. If someone's talking when it goes off, because that happens frequently. Mr. Caruso? Your phone, vibrate. You don't have it tonight? Oh, good. All right. Everyone has seen the minutes
Yes.
of July 10th. Any changes?
Motion to approve?
No changes?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Anybody else? Any changes? Motion made by Mr. Milano to approve. Do I get a second? Seconded by Mr. Caruso. Clerk, call the roll.
Bennett. Yes. Caruso.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Lozoy. Yes. Petalino.
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Milano.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes. Okay. Applications for adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, the council's name is Robert Gassion. I represent St. Mary's, St. Mercurius Church, and counsel for the objector is also here, Mr. Fiella. And I believe at the last meeting, we talked about potentially getting a special meeting date of August 20. If that's still available, both Mr. Fiella and I would approve of that date and can have our appropriate witnesses here.
Gina, I believe it's still available,
Yes,
correct?
it is. I checked this morning.
Anybody have a problem with the 20th?
I might be on vacation.
You may be on vacation. Tuesday the 20th. Well, only one person's going to be on vacation.
And Richard.
And Richard is not handling the case, yes. So whichever way, she may be on. You may, or you're definitely.
Looking to leave on the 17th right now, so.
So she may be
Good
leaving.
possibility that.
So, but you can always get a transcript. Okay, any problem?
No, for the record, we're fine.
You're fine with it. All right, so there's no problem at all. All right, so ZB 2019-02, 125 Academy Street, St. Mary's, St. Mercurius Church. That will be adjourned. Anybody in the audience who's interested, to the 20th of August. There will be a special meeting here at 7 o'clock p.m. only for that application.
And that matter's adjourned without notice, I believe, Mr. Chairman? Without further notice?
Oh, no, I'm about to say that.
I'm sorry.
Yes, there will be no further notice either in the newspaper or by mail of this adjournment.
Yeah, Gina should put a script in the paper.
Yes, well, Gina will be putting, she has to, because under the Open Public Meetings Act, we have to notify when we're having a special meeting. So that she will be doing.
And I
when you
waive
do
the
that,
time
and when you do that, Gina, please list this as the case we'll be hearing.
Yes.
With
Okay.
public
Yes.
action may be taken. And you extend
And
obviously for whatever time.
I waive the time constraint to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the board,
Okay.
beyond the...
All right. Do you have any other cases that you're adjourning to?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that. Mr. Chairman, there's an issue with regard to 19 Ben Rensselaer. As I'm sure you know, the zoning ordinance was dramatically changed and really difficult to get an exact interpretation of the ordinance as to that parcel. And therefore, I need an adjournment to the next regularly scheduled meeting to give both my planner and Mr. Di Lorenzo the opportunity to review the new ordinance and make a clear determination as to what the variances are or whether there are any variances anymore.
Okay, so that's number 3 on the agenda, correct?
Yes, sir.
ZB 2019-08. For anybody in the audience who's interested in this is being adjourned to our next regularly scheduled meeting, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
September 5th, 2019. There'll be no further notices either in the newspaper or in the mail for this case also. So anybody who's interested, come back on September 5th. That's number 3 on the agenda, ZB 2019-08. The applicant is 19 Van Rensselaer, Castle Apartments LLC. Applicant is seeking approval to legalize an existing one-bedroom apartment with a multi-family apartment building with a total, well, that would result in a total, I believe, of 9 apartments.
Correct.
So currently there's 8.
Well, there is not.
Legally.
Been 9 a long time, but I won't get into that at this time.
Okay. Now, is there anything else you want to adjourn?
No, sir.
So you're on for Cortlandt Street tonight, is what you're telling me?
I am prepared with Cortlandt Street, and I am prepared with Watchung Avenue.
Okay. Is there anybody here for DeWitt?
Present.
You'll be here, you're ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. All right, I also have a correspondence from Wells, Jankowski, and Lieberman, attorneys at law, from Paramus. And it says, relation to Riverside Gardens, 417, 457 Main Street, Block 9705, Lot 1, in Belleville. Dear Chairman Del Gercio, our office represents Riverside Gardens. The applicant, with regard to the above referenced matter, I appeared at last month's meeting of the Belleville Zoning Board of Adjustment, which the matter was carried on the record to the August 1st, 2019 regularly scheduled meeting of the board. As I indicated, that I would have to check with our witnesses as to their availability that evening. I have now been advised that 2 of our witnesses will be unable to attend that night. As such, we would respectfully request that the matter be carried again on the record at the August meeting to the regularly scheduled September 5th, 2019 meeting of the board. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact our office. We thank the board for its courtesies and considerations in this matter. Very truly yours, Spencer J. Rothwell. So, anyone in the audience who is interested in this case, which is the second case on the agenda, ZB 2019-05, applicant is seeking approval for their 44 units to be adjusted to 47 units at the said property at 417, 457 Main Street. There will be no further notices either in the newspaper or by mail, and that case is being carried forward to the September 5th, 2019 meeting. And that would also, based upon the fact that I assume he will waive the time restraints. Okay. First case on the agenda tonight then would be the 4th case on our agenda, ZB 2019-09. Applicant is seeking approval to construct a multi-family residential apartment building with 6 two-bedroom dwellings on vacant land. And that is at 4945 Watchung Ave. I never saw a backwards before.
4955.
Huh?
4955.
Oh, 4955, so that's a typo. I'm sorry, that's a typo. I understand that,
I'm going to have to recuse myself from this case. One corner of the parking lot for school number 4 is within 2
Yes, sir.
feet of the 200-foot boundary, so yeah, I get to sit in the audience for a while.
okay.
All right.
So, Mr. Gassion, you still have 7 members.
I just counted. It took me a while, but I counted.
That's why we know why I was waiting to start the meeting. I want to make sure we have a 7th member for the first case. Okay, Mr. Gassion, you may proceed.
Gina, I believe notice and publication.
Yes, they are.
Okay,
Everything was.
very good.
May I proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, council, his name is Robert Gassion, the firm is Gassion Pomaco, 524 Union Avenue in Belleville. We represent the applicant in this matter, D&P Realty LLC. My clients are the owners of 49-55 Watchung Ave. This is an application to construct a multifamily dwelling with 6 two-bedroom apartments on what is currently vacant land. Under the ordinance in effect at the time of the application, which we are proceeding under and allowed to proceed under, the property is located in a multifamily zone, and therefore the proposed use is a permitted use. The applicant is seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval, D5 density relief, and bulk relief having to do with maximum lot coverage and maximum pervious coverage. Also, we're seeking a reverse subdivision to consolidate the lots. The witnesses you'll hear from are Abraham McNaghy of D&P Realty LLC, Matt Evans, the architect, and George Williams, the planner.
Excuse me, but as I understand it, the law is that if there's a change to the zoning ordinance that's in your favor, you may use it. It's only if it's against you, it cannot be used against you.
Yeah, it's against you, Mr. Chairman.
It's against you?
Yeah, as I
think
read,
there's one thing that might be in your favor,
there is.
and I
Density.
believe that's a density,
Density is definitely in my favor,
because you mentioned density.
but the use is not in my favor.
No, not the parking lot.
So my choice was to proceed under the new ordinance and have no density issue, but then I had a use issue with regard to D1 because it's not a permitted use anymore as I read the ordinance. And as my planner, I believe, reads the ordinance, and I think as Mr. Di Lorenzo reads the ordinance. If I'm wrong, and the use is permitted, and the density is permitted, then I'm a very happy boy.
Before going further, why don't I have Mr. Rego swear in Mr. Di Lorenzo? So get this cleared
Might as
up.
well do Tom as well.
Yes, and Tom.
Tom,
Tom.
zoning officer and our board engineer planner, with regard to this application and the others this evening, you swear your testimony will be true.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Di Lorenzo, the floor is now yours.
Well, under the new zoning, it looks like single-family dwellings are permitted, 2 families, 3-family dwellings, townhouse dwellings, parks, playgrounds, art studios, and schools.
So there's no more multifamily zone?
No, the townhouse dwelling, if it was a townhouse, then it would be permitted.
Okay,
He's
so
doing, I guess,
in other
doing
words, it's the
rentals.
type of construction that's the problem. Am I correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman, as I read it.
Okay. So technically, it's still a D, but the density part is eliminated. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So one of the Ds is eliminated then, I believe. Was there a D problem before?
The D problem is the density, and we're arguing, obviously my planner's gonna make an argument with regard to that, but there could be an argument to the reverse, because I'm back under the old ordinance, not the new ordinance. I don't think I can pick and choose
Yeah.
between the ordinances.
Yeah, either way, we'd have a D variance, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, I have a D1 use if I go with the new one, I got a D5 density if I go with the old one. Obviously, we're gonna argue that density is no longer,
But what I just said, if I'm mistaken, and I want Mr. Rego to correct me, or Mr. Di Lorenzo, if there's a change in the law that's to your advantage,
I can't take one part of the law,
Take one or the other.
Right, he's
I
got it.
can't
Okay.
pick. I'm obviously gonna argue about it,
Alright.
but I can't take, I still have to prove my case on that basis.
okay?
Or-
I just want to clear it up so there's no confusion.
Mr. Williams has to prove my case on that basis.
Yeah, yeah, he would probably have less variances if we went with the new ordinance.
Okay.
But that's his choice.
Yes, of
It's
course.
his-
I would definitely have less variances, but the burden of proof
D1's
on
a
a
heavier lift.
D1 is more difficult than a burden of proof on a D5, substantially more difficult.
Okay. All right.
Okay, the applicant representative will discuss what they are looking for and what will follow if there is an approval. Matt Evans, the architect, will discuss the application generally and describe the proposed structure and review the interior and exterior. George Williams, the final witness, will give a planning overview and discuss the D5 issue and the bulk variances. I'd like to call my first witness.
Sir, could would you raise your right hand, please, with regard to this application? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth? Could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Abraham Ignaji, N-E-G-H-M-A-G-I.
Mr. McNaji, what is your
I'm sorry.
I didn't,
M-E-G?
H-M-A-G-I.
thank you.
N-E-G-H-N-A-G-I.
N-A-G-I. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to speak, to keep your voice up. Thank you.
You know what?
Is there a microphone?
Yeah, we have microphones.
Explain it, Mike.
I heard the mics are working
There we
today.
go.
Open mic.
What is your occupation, Abraham?
I'm a contractor.
And are you a member of D&P Realty LLC?
Yeah,
And how is the property in question currently being used?
just like,
It's vacant land, is that correct?
correct.
And what is it you're seeking approval to do?
We're seeking approval to get a 6-unit, 2-bedroom each unit, dwellings.
And if this application is approved, will you and your partner be the builders of the building?
We will.
And do you plan to retain it as an investment property?
We do.
I have no further questions to this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Questions by members of the board? Based upon testimony? None? Yes.
How long have you had that?
I believe we've had that pipe for about a year and a half now. Yes.
Well, what'd you say?
About a year and a half. In fact, they had just so,
It's-
I don't need to testify, they came to see me with an application at least a year and a half ago, I guess, that was more dense than I told them it was not a good application. So that's how I know they had it for a long time.
Where, you said something. What I want to say is this is a corner lot, correct, that's wooded right now?
It's grass and has some trees on it.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. It's right on the corner there, I forgot the side street.
Cross.
Very,
Cross, yes, cross.
very close to Newark.
Yes.
Within a couple hundred feet.
Yes. Yes, actually, Stephen Crane Village is right across the street.
Yes, that is correct.
Go ahead. Any other questions by members of the board? Any questions by members of the public of this witness? None. You may go to your next witness.
Thank you. That's everything.
Would you raise your right hand, please, sir, when you can? With regard to this application, do you swear your testimony will be the truth?
Yes, I
State
do.
your name, spell your last name, please.
Matthew G. Evans, E-V-A-N-S.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans, what is your occupation?
I'm an architect and planner.
And what degree do you have and where did you go to school?
Okay, presently licensed in the state of New Jersey as a registered architect and professional planner. I'll be testifying as a registered architect this evening. I have a master's degree at NJIT in architecture.
Have you taught any courses in conjunction with your work?
Yes, I've taught 2 semesters at NJIT many years ago.
Member of any societies or professional groups connected with your work?
AIA, North Jersey chapter.
Have you testified previously before zoning boards and planning boards?
Yes,
And in actuality, did you testify before this board?
yes,
Accepted as an expert in each and every case?
yes.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
submit.
he's approved, yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
As long as his license is still good, that's what
Yes,
counts.
it's in good standing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you please describe the existing site?
Okay, we have a submission, site plan, and it shows, sheet S1 shows the proposed improvements on the site with some details. The existing site is a vacant site. It's a little over 10,000 square feet. It's 10,418.5 square feet. It's at the intersection of Watchung and Cross Street, and it's vacant at the present time, basically vacant land.
Would you generally describe the proposal before the board?
Okay, what we're proposing is all new construction. It's going to be a 6-unit apartment, 3-story building. We're going to have 3 units per floor, 2 bedrooms each, and then at the lower level, we're going to have parking for the units. There'll be stacked parking, and then we have access from Watchung Avenue for the below the building parking, And then we have a handicap parking space, which would be accessed from Cross Street, where the grade goes up towards the rear of the property.
The number of spaces, please.
Okay. We have total of 12 spaces, including the handicap parking space.
The application is then compliant with regard to parking, is that correct?
Yes.
Would you describe in some degree of detail the proposed exterior of the structure?
Okay. On sheet SK1, we show the ground floor plan and the second floor plan. Also, we have the Watchung Avenue elevation and the Cross Street elevation shown. We have a mix of materials. We have brick, horizontal siding along each elevation, mixing up the materials. We have hip roof, and we've varied the facade to give it some dimension and aesthetic appeal along Watchung Avenue and Cross Street.
Would you review the interior of the first floor of living accommodations?
Okay, we have basically what we're calling the second floor plan. We have 3 units. We have unit 103 is a 2-bedroom unit. That's 946.78 square feet. We have unit 101 is a 2-bedroom unit, 746.53 square feet. And then we have unit 102 is a 2-bedroom unit also, 774.62 square feet. So that is similar to the upper floor. The third floor plan would be consistent with the second floor plan.
And each of those units has how many rooms in it?
We have a open living, dining, kitchen area for these. We have handicap bathrooms, and we have a laundry mechanical room and closets for each unit.
Would you review the proposed lighting on the exterior of the building?
Okay, we have S2, I believe, shows our lighting, landscaping, and our drainage plan. We have lighting along the Watchung Avenue entry for circulation and parking. We also have lighting along the pedestrian and handicap area to the rear of the building, and landscaping along the perimeter of the site and perimeter of the improved areas. We also show a recycling and refuse shed, which is surrounded by arborvitaes adjacent to the driveway area.
The lighting, is it a downshield lighting so that it doesn't cast too much light on the adjacent properties?
Yes.
And could you describe the landscaping a little more in detail?
Well, basically we have lawn area around the perimeter of the building with different types of landscaping. We have shrubs, as I mentioned, arborvitaes, azaleas, and some cherry trees for the perimeter of the property.
And you talked about the waste and garbage. Can you explain how it's contained, how it's screened, and you did start to explain it, and how it's taken from the site?
Okay, we show on sheet S2, we show the refuse enclosure detail. It's a 5-yard trash and 5-yard recycling container. Will be privately hauled, I believe, and it's surrounded by a board-on-board fence. And then on the perimeter of the board-on-board fence, we have the arborvitae, so it has 2 basic layers of screening.
And is there any proposed signage on the building?
No.
And did you have an opportunity to review Mr. Di Lorenzo's letter
Yes.
and Mr. Harris's letter?
Yes.
And would you please comment on those letters and tell us whether you're able to comply or your applicant is able to comply with that?
Well, after the first letter, we revised the plans to address the...
After the first letter, meaning the letter from Mr. Di Lorenzo?
Yes. We addressed those items on the plan that you have before you, And on the June 6th letter, there's some site plan questions which we would be able to provide revised plans if this were to be approved.
And so you are able to comply with the request made by Mr. Di Lorenzo in his letter?
Yes.
Okay. And the letter of Mr. Harris, would you review that letter and in particular pay attention to his site plan comments?
Okay, we have site plan comments 1 through 8. The applicant shall provide grading plan, so if this were to be approved, we would provide a grading plan for the entire site, as well as drainage calculations for the seepage pits, which we have shown. They'd be basically, the roof leaders would connect directly to the seepage pit, so we would have zero net runoff for the site, developed site. We have number 2, that the applicant shall remove and replace all sidewalk aprons, Watchung Avenue, and install new sidewalks. So basically, it's a new development. We're going to put all new curbs and sidewalks along the perimeter of Watchung and Cross Street as part of the improvements. Number 3, the applicant should provide solid fence along the westerly and southerly property lines. I believe we could accommodate that. The height of the fence would most likely be in accordance with the height according to the ordinance. And then number 4, we have the quantity, size, caliber of landscaping shall be provided on the plans. We also recommend installing street trees along northerly and easterly property lines. So we would upgrade our landscaping plan to provide those details and additional landscaping. Then there's number 5, the plan should indicate on-site parking areas to be curbed. We recommend granite block curb that we could accommodate along the perimeter of all the drive areas between the landscaping. And the curbing along Watchung Ave is granite block curb, not concrete. Plan should be revised accordingly. We could update that also. The applicant should address refuse and recycling pickup. I believe it'll be private, as I mentioned before, and that will be taken care of from the applicant. And the survey of the property, as well as the meets and bounds description for the reverse subdivision, shall be provided for our review. And we have, I believe we submitted a copy. We have an additional, I don't know if we had a copy.
We will submit the description should the application be approved in conjunction with the reverse subdivision.
So then we would have to sign off on a reverse subdivision.
Yes, sir.
We'd also like to see the documents, that they'll be recording the subdivision deeds.
Absolutely.
Reverse subdivision deeds.
And if there's an approval and it's subject to that, we understand and accept.
Yes.
So I have no further questions in this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, questions by members of the board. Mr. Valano.
Just, I had a question on where you referred to a handicap spot. Where's that?
Oh, if you look at the Cross Street, the top of the site plan, there's a handicap spot and a striped area adjacent to it. So it's basically,
How's that person get the house?
So,
Can you just,
go
can I
ahead.
finish?
I'm sorry.
So could you lay out the path that person would have to take to get in the house?
okay, so basically, the handicap access would be pulling in off of Cross Street directly into the rear of the yard. There's the striped area next to that for circulation. And basically, you're basically coming in at grade because now the other parking is lower level off of Watchung Avenue.
Okay.
Now we have grade level, so all those units on that first level are handicap accessible, wheelchair accessible.
No steps, no nothing?
No steps for that level. Now, of course, going up for flight, you have 3 units that would be accessible, but not, you wouldn't have.
I'm gonna run there real quick.
Yeah, to be adapted.
So when you say the first 4 units are handicap accessible, right? are they bathtubs or what are they?
They could be handicap bathtubs or handicap showers, depending on
No,
what the
I'm
code.
asking you, I'm not, I didn't put it there.
What are you proposing is the question.
Right,
Well, we show tubs, I believe, we're just showing handicap bathtubs in this application.
I'm confused. What is a handicap bathtub?
It's basically, we have the circulation space and
That's for the chair.
accessibility. Excuse me?
That's what, you mean for the chair? For a wheelchair?
Yeah, so you'd have a
Necessarily.
drop-down chair
See,
and a drop-down seat, you'd have grab bars and all the circulation for the wheelchair to turn around, 3-foot door, all the circulation clearances in accordance with the barrier-free.
I can't hear you, Barbara.
He means tub.
Wait, she just,
Barbara.
it's not gonna make sense if I just get
No, I'm sorry, I said, I think he means shower, not tub. where
No,
the
he thinks-
Wheelchair could turn around.
He means tub. That's why, that's my question. Yeah,
well, we handle that anyway, you guys have no power over that.
I'm asking just a question.
It's a requirement, I assume, and we have to comply with.
Yeah,
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 it's going to come
yeah.
into us when you have the hard drawings.
The other question I had, I'll move on, make it easy for everybody. The parking spot in front of the stairway.
Yeah, so we have access adjacent to the parking spot to the stairway. We could provide a little more space, access, or step that back to get in. So it's all open garage, what we're proposing.
So, one of the handicap spot is how you come up to 12, correct?
Right, so the handicap spot is above, and that's to conform with the barrier-free, and that will be accessible for, and also they come off the cross street, all the units would be at grade from that upper level.
All right, I'll move on. Next question would be, in the smaller units, I guess, the 746 square foot, I don't know this question. So, I'm not confused. The living room, right, is I guess, in that living room space, you have, that way you put the table, if you're gonna eat.
Yeah, there'd be a kitchen table adjacent to the kitchen, or an island if they put an island in, but there's space for.
The tenant puts an island in?
Excuse me?
The tenant puts an island in?
No, I'm saying, it could be on wheels, it could be, an island, movable island, or it could be a kitchen table and chairs. Then we have adjacent to that space, we have the living area.
So, where would the table go in the smaller unit?
In what, unit 101?
Yeah, pick one, yeah, 101's fine.
It would go next to the kitchen in front, between the living and the kitchen area.
Yeah. That's all I have.
I have a question. Now, where you have the handicap spot, there's gonna be, I believe, the second driveway on Cross, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can any of the cars from the parking garage area exit that way or not?
No, that's, the garage exits on Watchung,
Mhm.
and that just a separate handicap.
So then what we're saying is, each unit is gonna have tandem parking, correct?
Yes.
So the car that's in the middle, lined up with the stairway, would have to be the same unit where a person is handicapped using the handicap spot, correct?
Yes, that may be the case, yes.
Well, that would have to be the case. If you're gonna have tandem for each unit, then each one would have to be assigned to a unit, and the unit where a handicapped person is living would have to have the handicap spot over there and the middle spot over here.
Right. Or, I mean, we don't show it on our plan, but if the handicap unit has the handicap spot, and they're dedicated their spot, they can always tandem in that driveway area there if need be. But this is how we're proposing the parking.
I mean, if there's a second handicap?
No, I mean, if the handicap tenant parks in the handicap spot, and then the spouse or someone in that family
Right.
can park behind that and do a tandem in that arrangement if need be. But we're not showing that as part of this
No, you're not
application.
showing space for that.
Right,
Right. So technically, it would be lined up with the parking space that's lined up with the staircase
yes,
on the other side.
yes.
Yes. Okay. That's how I would want it done,
Okay.
so there's no confusion. Just to have it anywhere else makes no sense. Okay. Any other questions by members of the board?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes.
The address is on, it's on Watchung, and that's the garage doors, it's located on Watchung, so that's the
Yes.
front entrance to the building. So people, if deliveries and visitors have to walk through the garage to get into the building then? or-
No, they're basically, they're gonna come basically off Cross Street, that's the main entrance to the building, so.
And that's like Braidwood.
Right, so the tenants will park in the garage, walk up the stairs, and then walk up to their units. Guests will come from Cross Street, and they'll walk up the path, and, you know,
Right-
mailman
right
or
by the
whoever.
Handicap parking there.
Right, they, adjacent to that, so,
Okay, so that's really the main entrance to the building.
yes.
Okay.
So then technically, this would have a cross-street address,
Yes.
all right? That's the main entrance. of the
Yes.
building. Any other questions by members of the board? Any questions by members of the public of this witness? Yes, sir. Name and address, come up to the front, please, so we can have you on the video camera.
Victor Mafucci, 61 Continental Road. First one's clarification. You mentioned cherry trees. Do you mean cherry blossom trees?
There would be a type of cherry, yeah, where there would be cherry, just decorative cherry trees.
Blossom, cherry
Yes.
blossom. Okay. Also, I was just curious, if you don't have a handicap tent, are you then short a parking place?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Handicap counts as one of the required spaces. So
You
if
know-
12 is required, whether we have a handicapped person or not, we comply by having 12 spaces, 11 and more,
Okay. One which
which is handicapped.
technically could not be used.
That's,
Technically.
I guess you're right.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that.
What was that? What was that?
One that technically can't be used if there's no handicapped person in the building.
That's right.
That's right.
If a person is not handicapped, can't use that spot if it is posted such.
But even though you can't use it, it counts in the total.
Agree to total. However,
And it's
Frank
required.
knows this better
And it's
than me.
required.
Unless it was posted, you know, I don't know if it's not, the way you post it makes a difference, I don't know.
If they don't rent it to a handicapped person, are they able to take the sign down?
No.
There you go. There's your answer.
Frankie, is this handicap spot required?
Yes.
Okay. See how easy that was? Thank you, Frank.
Can I ask you one more question? On that side, to the left of the handicap spot, is there enough room there that a person can park in? To the left.
So if I'm
The
looking,
handicap spot is to the right, I'm being told.
well,
That's where it says there, proposed handicap space seat detail. And
right,
then on the left, it has the handicap insignia, but the space is supposed to be on the right. So is there enough space there for someone to park on the left? If they're not handicapped?
no, because you need that circulation area, striped area adjacent to the space, so you only have about 6 feet adjacent to the spot, which would most likely be landscaping.
Well, let me ask you a question. No, let me ask you a question. Let's say the parking spot was moved a little further or widened to the right, would there then be a space to have another parking space?
It'd be too tight. You mean,
You have this open space behind it, to the boundary. You see what I'm talking about? This white area. See the white area?
up on the top of it?
Yeah, up on the top.
Yeah.
If you made things wider there, would it not be wide enough to have two parking spaces? One handicapped and one non-handicapped? Yes or no?
We could, if we flip the striped area, so the circulation would be part of the entry walkway,
Right.
basically. Then you have that would incorporate the 8 feet. You may be able to fit another spot.
On the right.
You might be able, there's a good chance you could do that.
Well, that's what I would propose here to resolve this problem. That way you have 11 spaces, one of which is handicapped.
Tomorrow.
I mean,
So you're saying
13, I'm
13
sorry,
spaces.
13 spaces, I'm sorry, 13.
So we
spaces.
could make that revision.
Yeah, I would make that provision to solve this problem, because everybody should have at least 2 parking spaces. Because even under the new ordinance, it's supposed to be 1 parking space per bedroom. Since it stays to 2 per unit, okay, and you can't use the handicap spot if there's no handicap person, I would widen that to the right and make another parking space, and that would solve this whole problem. That way, you have a handicap spot, and you have a...
Well, you got one more than
Well,
what's
regular.
required, we have no objection to that.
Good.
Right.
What direction would that be north?
That would be, let's see, yes, it would be.
So revised plans would be submitted, you'd have a total of 13 parking spaces, one of which would be handicapped.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Valano, you have another question?
Yeah, just so I'm clear, I'm a little confused.
That's okay.
Thanks.
I want you to clear that.
I don't know if you want your planner to talk about what are the exact variances that you should,
The plan, we'll discuss it.
that's,
Absolutely.
okay. And I have nothing else.
Thank you.
So does anybody else have any more questions for the architect? All right. Any members of the public have questions of the gentleman based upon testimony? No. Okay, now you may call your next witness.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah. Mr. Williams?
Yes,
So we
sir.
don't have to go any further. Is your license still in effect?
It is.
Well, then you are an expert. You've been here enough time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
You can raise your
Swear a minute.
right hand, please. With regard to this application, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I most certainly do.
Just state your name, spell your last name.
Certainly, good evening, Commissioners. My name is George Weedle Williams, Williams with an S.
And as indicated by the chairman, you're being qualified as a land use planner.
That's correct.
Okay.
Before Mr. Williams testifies, I just need 30 seconds to discuss something.
You can have a minute.
That's okay. I'm not looking for a recess. Okay? Yep. Wow, a little bit, Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir.
Can I proceed?
Yes.
You've been qualified as an expert in the field of planning. Could you please give us a review of the application?
Certainly, you've already heard a fair amount of testimony from Mr. Evans. I won't belabor that. It's an application that requires a D5 density variance, and I'll go through the recitation of other proofs in a second. And in preparation, I looked at the application.
This is what I want to make sure we're clear. So you're opting to go for a density variance?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, in our opinion, using the current, well, the original code that was applicable when we submitted our application, a D5 density variance is required, along with some other variances that I'll recite in a second. We looked at the current code, which would eliminate the density variance, but require a D1 use variance, because technically what we're proposing would not be among the enumerated permitted uses, as you heard from your zoning officer a moment ago. The proofs for the D1, as this board knows, are a bit more stringent than that of a D5, and I'll talk about the D5 standards for proof in a moment, but you all know that D1 requires showing not only the positive criteria, but the negative criteria and the enhanced quality of proof. So for all those reasons, it was our judgment call, if you will, that we think the application is a good application either way, but under the options provided by your code amendment, in our opinion, the D5 was a more prudent or strategic way to go.
So I'm gonna pin it down a little further. What's allowed here? In your own by the, whatever code you're picking, you own, what's allowed? 3, 6, 20, what's allowed?
There's 12 units per acre allowed, 3 are allowed. This is 25 units per acre, 6.
So you're saying 6 is allowed?
No,
That's not what I'm asking.
under the current ordinance that we're operating on,
Right,
3 are allowed,
3 are allowed,
12 units per acre.
because we're not.
Under the application, we're looking for 6 units per acre.
But
Obviously, under the current law, there's no density requirement. But we're not under that law.
we're not talking about that. We're
Well,
talking about having-
we can talk about it,
If you
but
like,
we're not under
you
that
happen to
law.
go down that road. You choose your poison. My point is, I just want to know for the record, right, that I know is happening, yes, because I'm only citing Mr. De Lorenzo's letter. I want to make sure we're still doing apples and apples. So his letter says 3 is allowed. Am I right, Frank?
Yeah.
Okay. So are we all in agreement that this applicant, the way it sits now, what's allowed is 3 units?
That's correct.
That's all I want to know.
The current, well, I shouldn't say the current. The law under which we filed allowed 3.
Right. That's all I ask.
Let me ask a follow-up on this, because this is all being brought up. Let's say tonight, it's still a D application, so it still requires 5 out of 7 votes, am I correct?
That is correct.
In the event that it went down tonight, would you be able to bring the case back using the current ordinance?
I think you could. I think substantial change is, I'll yield to George's opinion too, but substantial change is the density. The law's been changed.
I agree with you,
So the big variance is density.
but then it would change to the D1.
Then it would change to a D1. That's
And you would
correct.
have to prove the D1 on the new application.
That is correct. But I still think I can go back with substantial change because of the change in the ordinance.
Yes, I agree. It would not come under a re judicata that you can't come back.
I do not think so.
I agree 100%. Anybody else think differently?
I think I'll let my attorney give me that.
Well,
Not-
it's kind of a unique circumstance, but I would agree. Even if they come back with the exact same application, the fact that now they're in for a D5, and if it doesn't fly, if they come back, it's a D1, I think it's a heavier lift. But I do think because of the law, change in the law,
No, but again, that's why I'm asking you. I respect your opinion as well. But my point is, I thought the substantial change had to be in the project, not in the law.
it's an interesting question, but I would think if the law changes, what they have to show us, although maybe the same project, what they would have to show us through Mr. Williams' testimony would be different than what he's going to show us now. It is interesting, that's why the first thing I said was it was kind of unique, because usually 99.9% of the time there's a change in the project.
Right.
It's less dense.
That's the way I understood the case.
Yes,
Mr. Gassion
but-
disagrees. I'm not
but
saying
the-
you're wrong, but that's why I'm asking right
Yeah,
now.
but the change in the law, my gut feeling sitting here right now, and I don't know if there's much law on it at all, it would be, my sense would be that because of the change in the ordinance, we would look at it, legally, we'd look at it in a different light, because the D5 proofs are different.
But here's my point to that, so. and again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm asking, you got to choose which side that you want to hear this case on, right? And if you lost it at what you chose at, right, the only substantial, only thing you can come back is a substantial change to the project, because you already picked the loss, like going and say, you know what, I didn't want that for dinner, I really wanted the pork chop. You ate the dinner. So that's the way I look at it. Again, with all due respect, this is a layman's term.
Let's hope we don't have to get to that.
I'll just to point out what I think. First, I agree with counsel that a change in the law is substantial change. If I were coming back, and I hope that doesn't have to happen, if I were coming back, I would also make some change in the building itself, just as a precaution. But I'm quite sure the law allows you to come back because it's changed. And you say we're picking, but we went at the time, the law was that. We didn't, that was the law. We filed the application. All we're doing is proceeding with what the law was at that time.
But you have an opportunity to pick which one you want to choose.
Right now, it's changed, but it's not as, I don't know that we have a clear record of exactly where it is at the present time.
Unless you want with townhouses.
I think the current ordinance, if it puts them in a D1 situation, it's not to their advantage.
I know that, but he gets to pick that, that's my point.
It's harder to prove,
Well,
right?
legally, you're entitled to, if the change is beneficial, you're entitled to pick that.
Right.
It's not beneficial, so he's entitled to come in with what the law was at the time.
Right.
So there is a
Mr.
selection.
Watt, what you're disregarding is, at the time we filed the application, we did all this work, we did all these plans, we did everything,
Right. But you didn't have
thinking
to,
it was a permitted use, and now it's not a permitted use. So it's a difficult decision that we made,
no, I don't
and
disagree with that.
obviously, but I don't think that should
Yeah.
carry the day for the
I
case.
don't think you take
No.
it.
I think if that scenario happens, and I hope it doesn't,
I hope so too.
Mr. Gassion would be well advised to, in addition to relying on a change in law, he would be well advised to maybe do something with the
And
plans.
I would advise my clients to
Make
that.
it different,
Okay,
okay.
I believe in it, but I just want to put my
It's an
opinion
interesting question.
on the record.
Okay,
Thank you.
Would you go back to your planning overview?
Yes. So, the property is commonly known as 49 Watchung. As the chairman mentioned, the address may be different if you were to be approved and have a cross-street address, but it's currently identified in your municipal tax records as block 2101, lot numbers 19, 20, and 21, hence the reverse subdivision that was mentioned in the introductory comments. It's in the RC multifamily residential district, so under the code that was in effect at the time we filed, the RC district would permit the proposed land use, so it's a permitted land use in the RC multifamily district. The district also permits single-family dwellings, garden apartments, and townhouse dwellings. As you heard from Mr. Evans, the project description includes construction of a 6-unit multifamily residential dwelling on a vacant lot, and that vacant lot happens to be a corner lot, as the commissioner mentioned earlier. To the recitation of the proofs, there are several. The density variance, as mentioned before, we are 2.8 is permitted, or 3. And then we are proposing the 6 that you heard earlier. Maximum lot coverage is 25%. Permitted, we are coming in at 43%. Impervious surface coverage, 40% is the maximum, and we are coming in at 52% for this proposal. In terms of the master plan context for this, normally I use that as part of my proofs at the end, but it's interesting that the master plan has a number of sections that are rather informative, so I'll start with the master plan in this instance. Some of the goals and objectives. First, to continue to encourage a wide variety of housing types at a range and scale and rental levels so that all types of families and all income groups can be housed in Belleville. To provide residential growth at current densities and permit high-density development in limited areas. This was first reported in your 2009 master plan. Regarding the progress of this goal, as noted in your 2019 re-examination report, I quote, there continues to remain a need for a variety of housing types that are available to residents of varying incomes within the township. The township maintains a well-diversified housing stock. However, both age of the township's housing stock and the variety of housing within the township remain an issue. He goes on to suggest that the township recognizes the importance of facilitating the redevelopment of the neighborhood surrounding the Silver Lake Light Rail Station. The township envisions pursuing a transit village designation for this area and believe that recognition of the station so close to the Newark hub is long overdue. Specific changes recommended for the township include development that is more consistent with the traditional patterns of the neighborhood and encouraging new infill development to be similar to the trend in housing in this area. Essentially, the 2019 re-examination report establishes the need for revitalizing the Silver Lake neighborhood and encourages infill development standards consistent with transit-oriented development. And so we kind of take our lead from the master plan in terms of the proposal here, both in terms of housing typology and density. The master plan finally concludes in a re-examination plan. There are many vacant and underutilized parcels and distinctive signs of disinvestment within the community. There is a need to address this again through the recommendation for infill development. So that's the context for this development. We also did a view of the site and surrounding area. We have a very straightforward exhibit just to give some context to the remainder of the testimony.
I believe we're at A1. A2. I'm sorry.
And while council is disseminating those, it's a photo survey of the site and surrounding area. Some of the images were taken either from municipal documents like your zoning map, or the first image is a Google Earth image from 2019, and the remainder of the images are photographs that I and my staff took of the site and the surrounding area.
Again, that's marked A2.
Anything further you want to review with regard to that
Yes.
presentation?
Thank you. Very quickly, so the first image is the Google Earth image, and it's very informative. You know this area as well as, if not better than I, but the dashed red line is the subject property. Someone mentioned it is a corner property. Here you can see it is at the corners of Cross and Watchung, directly across the street from multi-housing on the other side of Watchung. You'll also note that we're pretty close to the north border, again, directly across the street from us on Watchung. And there are a number of higher density properties in the immediate vicinity. To be objective, however, this section of Watchung has a very mixed land development pattern. We have a few pictures of structures in the immediate vicinity, but I would say further down Watchung, going away from Cross, we have some commercial. There are some 2 and 3 family, and then of course, as I mentioned earlier, the multifamily. The next image is taken directly from your zoning map, and it shows us located in the rectangular red box, squarely within the RC multifamily district, which again, as I mentioned earlier, permits multifamily dwellings. And that's in the code that was in effect at the time of application submission. Photo number 1 on the next slide is just a frontal view of our site. You can see the change in topography. This is a sloping site, which is why Matt Evans mentioned in his testimony that if you enter from Cross Street, you'll be at grade. If you enter from Watchung, that will be the parking garages, and then you'll walk upstairs to the apartments. And someone mentioned the characteristics of the site. You can see sloping and some dense vegetation around the perimeters of the site. Going quickly to photo number 2, directly across the street, you see some examples of more dense development in the same RC district. First one's 10 Cross Street with the 3-story condominium building, and then the second, photo number 3, Watchung Gardens, again, 3-story multifamily residential. To give balance to the observations of the site and the surrounding area, photo number 4 shows what appear to be 2 family dwellings, not architecturally significant, so you'll hear me discuss in the terms of the proofs, Matt Evans' testimony about the architectural detail that go into the proposed development.
Those are both Newark properties.
Yes. Same for 41 Watchung Avenue, also approximate to our site. Finally, photo number 6 and 7. Here you see Stephen Crane Village. Again, much fairly dense development, and across the street, 900 Franklin Avenue, which is a 15-story building. Just to give you a sense of the land development pattern in this area, and when we get to the discussion of density, you'll hear me say that the area will not be affected by the proposed density on this site. In fact, we think it will be an improvement.
Would you review, you talk about density, would you review the D5 variance application?
Sir, certainly. As I mentioned in my introductory comments, the test or standards for D5 are slightly less than a D1 use variance, and both municipal land use law and the court cases acknowledge that. In Price v., and I can never pronounce this word correctly, Price v. Himmage talks about this difference. The standard for granting such relief for D5 is that applied to the floor area ratio cases, which are the D4. Density and height variances are therefore tested against a more relaxed standard that requires applicants to demonstrate that the site will accommodate problems associated with the proposed use with greater density or height. Those problems typically are parking and or light and air, and I think that's why Mr. Evans spoke directly and at length about the parking accommodations on the site, so much so that we actually will exceed the requirement for on-site parking if we were to follow the board's recommendations for that handicap parking space. It goes without saying that the master plan already suggests varied density, greater density, and we know from the amended code that the contemplation of legislative intent is to actually encourage greater density. That's significant as this board considers our request for a D5 proof. In order to have the D5 use variance, D5 density variance, we have to show the positive and the negative criteria, still just like a D1. Those positive criteria can be shown or established through showing the purposes of zoning would be advanced, and then we have the negative criteria showing there will be no substantial detriment to the public good or no substantial impairment to the zone plan, and I think you'll see that we meet both. In terms of the purposes of zoning, in my professional opinion, subsection A of the purposes of zoning, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. This is clearly the catch-all phrase. It's the first of the purposes of zoning, but I think it is, I submit that it's appropriate for this application because we would be removing a vacant and underutilized parcel of land in a section of Belleville that the master plan suggests needs infill development and the reduction of vacant parcels. To promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentration that will contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, and regions, and preservation of the environment. That's subsection E, and that seems to be spot on for our application, given the master plan context, given the land development pattern context in this area, and the benefits of our application. Finally, subsection I, to promote the desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangements. Based on the testimony you've heard from Matt Evans, my review of the site plan, I would submit to this board that it's both the aesthetic improvement in terms of removing that vacant parcel and providing infill development with what would be considered aesthetically positive or pleasing design, but also the civic design, how Matt Evans was able to address the site layout and provide on-site parking and circulation that really works on the site, notwithstanding some of the challenges of the site topography. So for all those reasons, it's my professional opinion that positive criteria are met. In terms of the negative criteria...
Before you go forward with that, The proximity to the light rail, how far is it from the light rail?
It's 655 feet approximately from the light rail, so in terms of smart growth development or furthering the state policy for smart growth development, this kind of infill, compact, dense development is considered to further purposes of smart growth.
Just, because I've had the pleasure of dealing with these on several occasions, and you've talked about just that, you know, and the millennial type that is now moving into new construction, looking for smaller, you know, smaller, closer to the light rail,
Right.
that kind of mentality.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I don't believe you, I'm just curious,
Mhm. because
here you have a project that has 6 two-bedrooms, not really substantial, big apartments, but yet,
Right.
why wouldn't you, as the planner, you know, going by previous presentations, present 6 one-bedrooms for the millennials that don't really want big, and that's what you all are, that's what you are preaching.
Mhm.
So I'm asking you now that question, it's my turn, to ask you, why wouldn't you have 6 one-bedrooms here to accommodate the millenniums like we have done in several other projects recently,
Mhm.
instead of 6 two-bedrooms?
It's a good question, perhaps not best suited for me, because I didn't choose the design or the market. So my answer would be, each developer.
But you refer to the site plan quite a bit,
Mhm.
and you refer to what they're trying to accomplish.
Correct.
Follow me? And they're looking for that millennial, that growth.
That I didn't say.
The site plan refers to the transition of, I use those words.
Mhm.
And so I'm just curious why you wouldn't go there. You would have, that's more suited in my mind.
Mhm.
As most of you are now, when you come before us, you're making that argument.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll try and answer.
Thank you.
Okay. My firm and I are huge proponents of transit-oriented development, maximizing, leveraging access to public transportation,
I know that.
reducing the dependency on vehicles and vehicular trips.
Right.
But we don't get to pick and choose the projects all the time. So if I had been asked by the developer prior to the application being developed, I might have suggested, hey, there's an opportunity to do even more units with smaller bedrooms, et cetera. It's a decision the developer made. My assumption would be that this developer.
I didn't say more.
What's that?
I didn't say more.
I knew you didn't. I thought I'd sneak that in.
And
My assumption would be that this developer has a targeted market capture that may not be millennials, and they're just casting their hook that way.
I'm just curious.
Yep.
Shows I pay attention.
Yes, you do. And you know me well. I'm big on transit-oriented development.
Yeah, I know you. Okay, thank you. You answered my question.
Would you continue with the proofs with regard to the C2 concept?
Sure, very quickly.
Negative on
The negative on the D variance. So,
I got it.
albeit, even though the municipal land use on a court case suggests that you can review the D5 variance request with greater flexibility, or what one court referred to as greater liberality, we still have to do the negative criteria. In my opinion, it's a slightly lighter lift. So, same criteria. First prong is no substantial detriment to the public good. It means it doesn't change the character of the neighborhood in a negative way. Second prong is no substantial impairment to the zone plan. I'm going to start in reverse order. The reason I began my testimony with reference to your master plan is because the master plan seems so very supportive of this application. So that being said, in my professional opinion, there's certainly no substantial impairment to your zone plan, because in point of fact, what we are proposing meets what your master plan land use element recommends. And that word substantial comes directly from the municipal land use law. So I would argue there's no impairment to your land use element or zoning ordinance. and it's a chance for that second bite at the apple. So it's land use element and zoning ordinance. Certainly no impairment to your zoning ordinance. In point of fact, your zoning ordinance has been amended to remove the density requirement. So in my professional opinion, no impairment to your zone plan or zoning ordinance. With respect to the detriment to the public good, again, no substantial detriment to the public good. In fact, I would argue again, and that's why you heard me mention in my introductory comments, removal of the vacant parcel, which comports with your master plan and is good planning, showing investment in this neighborhood, which, if you know, this neighborhood is a good thing. And last but not least, no detriment, because we will accommodate all the parking on site and not contribute to any on-street parking congestion. So for all those reasons, it's my professional opinion, we meet the proofs for both the positive criteria and the negative criteria.
Now, would you go to the C2?
Now the C2, yes, sorry, okay. So, as you know, we also had the maximum lot coverage and the impervious surface coverage. I'm going to suggest for the board's consideration that both would be appropriate under the C2 context. That is, there's no hardship per se. Rather, if you accept our discussion about the D5 variance, one could argue that the C variance would be subsumed under the D, or you could find that the benefits of granting those two bulk and area deviations far outweigh any detriment of granting those deviations. And so I would submit to the board that the C2 context is most appropriate. If you were to grant those reliefs, there would be no detriment to the public good. The benefits are all of the benefits that I mentioned in the same context of the D5 variance. And in my professional opinion, it's actually a better zoning alternative than a strict application of your code, because it allows us to achieve what I think the master plan intended and what this neighborhood certainly would benefit from, and that is the infill development.
You've given us your conclusion, but just briefly again, the conclusion you have reached with regard to this application.
Certainly. D5 variance, more flexible approach to your review. In my opinion, it's appropriate for this neighborhood and the site. The site can accommodate this development based on what you've heard from Mr. Evans, your review of the site plan. The C2, or the bulk and area deviations, can be subsumed by your granting of the D5 variance, but on the whole, you can see them as a C2 relief, and the benefits of granting them outweigh the detriments of those deviations.
No further questions of this witness.
Any questions by members of the board? Mr. Valano?
No, I said I had no.
Oh, none, oh.
No,
I did want to point something
we're
out.
not, we're not agreeing.
In your last page, on photo number 7,
Yes.
that is not 900 Franklin Ave.
That's my name.
I know that for a fact. That's a senior citizen building that's part of Stevens Green Village.
Oh, okay. Apologies, thank you.
That's all right, I just want to clear it up. Any other members of the board have questions of the witness? Any members of the public have questions of the witness based upon the testimony he gave? None. Do you wish to sum up?
I just need 2 minutes before I sum up.
Oh, wait,
Thank you, Commissioner.
one more thing. Any public comment on this application at all? Anyone wish to say anything? I don't know if this is a proper
No,
question.
it's further now.
No, I'm talking about the Mr. Di Lorenzo. In the event this came
He just
back.
walked out.
Oh, he did?
He's not sitting there.
Well, then, all right, you know what? You give me a
2-minute recess.
Yes. You want to have a recess?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Okay, 10-minute recess. I can't find my hammer and sickle, so let's give that. We'll get back together at about 25 after. For August 1st, 2019 is back in order from the recess. Question, before we go on with this, and since Mr. Di Lorenzo isn't here, we have to ask Mr. Herritz, maybe one of your experts. You're looking to do a reverse subdivision, correct?
Correct.
How many lots are involved?
There's 3 lots and we're making it 1. And
Good. The 3 lots, what are their individual dimensions?
Don't know if I have that, Andy. bear with me.
I don't think it says in the video.
You got the bigger survey here? So we have, lot 21.
They look to be 50 by 125 by, 150 by 100, 225 by 100s. They look to be.
Okay. And 225 on it.
Yes,
All right.
correct.
And it was slightly over 10,000 square feet total.
Yes.
418? So.
Now, I am correct, am I, well, Frankie ain't here we go. I am correct that this is now part of the new Silver Lake District?
I believe it is, yeah.
I'm just asking.
That's the way I understand it. Try to sum up?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this application is suitable and consistent with the neighborhood and the density in the neighborhood. It's consistent with the master plan, and it helps revitalize the area, and it eliminates a vacant property. The chairman talked about a 13th parking space. My client is willing to change the application, modify it right now, to eliminate a bedroom in Unit 101 and Unit 201, so that there really shouldn't be a need for any parking issue. So we'll eliminate a bedroom in 101 and 201, those being the two units that are approximately 750 square feet. So you now have 4 2-bedrooms, 2 1-bedrooms. The parking then would have complied anyway, but now it easily complies. The application...
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Based upon what you just said. And I believe you have to swear, well, bring them back up to say that, because even though they're willing to do that, you can't give testimony, I don't think.
Certainly. You want to bring the architect or the applicant?
Bring the applicant and the architect, bring them both up. One to say that he wants to do it, and the other one to say how he's going to do it.
Now, you indicated, Mr. Gassion, that the parking would be what? If this
No, I would leave the parking the way it is. We
13,
just don't have to worry about what?
13 plus
No,
the handicap?
12. 11 plus the
The
handicap.
original, okay,
The original.
okay. You're still in the rope, gentlemen, both of you.
Okay.
Those
Let's
two
start.
spaces would be eliminated, am I
Yeah.
correct?
Not
Required.
necessary,
Not necessarily,
not required.
not required.
Now, you recall that you've been sworn. You heard me say that you're willing to eliminate the second bedroom in units 101 and 201, which are the approximately 750 square feet units.
Yes.
Should I call the architect?
Yes, now we have the architect.
Yes.
How would you do that?
Okay, we're going to remove the wall between the bedroom 1 and the living room, and that would open up to allow more living.
A larger living area.
Yeah, so we'd have more.
There would be no other designated area that where there would be a door like a den or anything like that?
No, completely open, so we have a nice large area.
I just want it on record. Okay, no problem.
I just go back to briefly finish up my
Yes, you may
summation.
go back, yes.
I don't have too much more to say. The application equates to 25 units an acre, a density that certainly is consistent with what is in this neighborhood. We got Stephen Crane, we have dense areas here. And obviously, it's more than consistent with what just was passed by the municipality in residential zones, in that there's no density requirement. This is a D5 application, very different than a D1 application. My outstanding planner went over how that is different and how the proofs are clear that we should be able to be approved for a D5 application. C2 application, benefits certainly outweigh the detriment. We need a new building at this location. My client is going to put up an attractive building, as you can see from the architect's plans, in a location where an attractive building is needed. This is less dense than the nearby buildings. You got Stephen Crane Village nearby. You've got the transit concept that you're 655 feet away from the light rail. So this is potentially an attractive building for maybe the millennials and some other people. There certainly is no substantial detriment. This is filling in an empty lot at a space where it's needed, and we're putting up an attractive new building to benefit the community and obviously benefit my clients. And as usual, I thank the board for their time and attention.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, discussion.
I think as my colleague has said, this is a particular piece of property, and if you live in the neighborhood, it needs to be redeveloped.
Yes, needs to be developed, I agree.
And so, and I think Mr. Gassion was wise enough to see now, I was sitting on that proverbial fence. Yeah, I think this makes a little more sense now that we're compromising. And we're taking consideration of the neighborhood, and I know it's a dense neighborhood, but this is, my opinion on that, when you use that language, is just because it is, doesn't mean it should be.
That's true.
But, this is a more of a balance, when we eliminated the bedroom, and in an area where we have a school system that really might not be able to accommodate more of that type of family situation. Not that we're against families, we're not. But I think the one bedrooms, I had questions about, as you heard me earlier, about the living space, if you will. I just thought it was kind of tight for a two-bedroom and a kitchen table right outside the bedroom door, the way I saw it. So this is more palatable. I'm not overjoyed, however, though. Something has to be done with this location, or else we're going to have more of the same. That's my opinion.
Okay, any conditions we want to put on this? One of the conditions I would want is any two-bedroom apartment would have to have the tandem parking assigned to the two bedrooms. The single bedroom, wherever that is, as long as it's out. There would be no additional charging for parking spaces. We're not gonna have this thing where it gets added on to the rent and then people don't wanna park there, they wanna park on the street. So, there can be no additional parking of any, no additional charge of any type for parking.
No objection.
Okay? Anything else anybody wants to add on to this? Nothing else? Okay then, do I have a motion to approve with the condition? Motion by Mr. Caruso with the conditions mentioned. Do I get a second?
I'll second it.
Second? Huh?
She's
All right, Ms. Lozow seconds. Clerk call the roll.
All conditions, I mean,
Well,
Everything that was.
okay.
I just mentioned the condition.
Yeah.
The main condition was how the parking would be set up.
Okay.
And we're listing it as 2 one-bedrooms and
4 two-bedrooms.
4 two-bedrooms, exactly.
2 one-bedroom?
2 one-bedrooms and 4 two-bedrooms.
Okay. Bennett? No. Caruso?
Yes.
Lopez?
No.
Lozowa?
Yes.
Catalina?
Yes.
Milano?
Yes.
Del Dercia?
Yes. Approved, 5-2.
Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. The next one should be
Oh, thank you.
Gassion, we're going on with Cortland?
Yes, sir. Proceed, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, council's name is Robert Gassion, the firm is Gassion Pomaco, 524 Union Avenue in Belleville. I represent the applicant in this matter, ATN Solutions LLC. My client is the owner of 114 Cortlandt. My client is seeking approval to demolish the existing vacant one-family and construct a new one-family. I'm sure the board remembers there was a previous application for a two-family at this site which was denied by the board. There are two families, relatively new, on either side of the property. Therefore, there is no land available to acquire or increase the size of 114 Cortlandt. In order to use the property as proposed, the applicant is seeking a number of bulk variances. I'm sure the board is familiar with it. Because it's so new, I just want to mention it. The size of this property has to be 35 frontage, whereas before it was 50. The area, 3,500, whereas before it was 5,000. Side yard, total 10, whereas before it was 14. The witnesses you'll hear from are Yocasta Burgos of ATN Solutions LLC and George Williams, the planner. Ms. Burgos will give a brief history of the property and advise what it is she is seeking to do. George Williams will discuss the area surrounding the site and review the bulk variances. He will also discuss the planning and zoning issues and provide his opinion of the reasons why the board is able to approve the application. I'd like to call my first witness, Ms. Burgos.
First, I just want to confirm that notice of publication are in order.
Yes, they are.
Okay, thank you. Could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth? Can you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
State your name and spell your last
Yocasta Burgos.
Spell your last name, please.
B-U-R-G-O-S.
Thank you.
Ms. Burgos, where do you reside?
1 Mandeville Ave, Clifton, New Jersey, 07013.
And what is your occupation?
Bilingual Social Security Specialist.
And are you the owner of 114 Cortlandt?
Yes, I am.
And for how long have you owned it?
Since January 2018.
Okay. And is that property, what's on that property right now?
Right now, it's just a vacant home. It's been vacant for more than 5 years, nothing else.
And what is the condition of that property?
The condition, it's not livable. The house is, foundation is not good. Yeah, the house is not livable. There's no electricity, there's no utilities or anything like that.
And what is it you're seeking to do at this location?
I was seeking to do a two-family house, but as of right now, I'm just doing the one-family house.
So you understand the two-family application was denied, and you are now seeking an application for a one-family.
Correct.
And you will be the general contractor yourself if you
Correct.
get this application approved?
Yes,
And do you plan to retain ownership of the property?
yes.
I have no further questions of this witness.
Any questions by members of the board? No questions. Members of the public, any questions? None. I think we're all familiar with hearing this case previously, because it wasn't that long ago. Okay, you may call your next witness, Mr.
Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Williams, if you could raise your right hand, please, with regard to this matter, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I most certainly do.
Any change since 15 minutes ago?
None.
Did you give testimony on the last time we heard this case?
I did.
He did.
Okay, so
I
can we
got
cut to the
denied.
chase then?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
The board recognizes Mr. Williams as a planner and accepts.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
I won't go through any prep questions, just quickly the planning overview.
Okay, so you've heard the description of the property from the applicant, now single family in accordance to what we heard with what we heard at the prior hearing for this matter for a two-family. And we've now come in submitting a single-family with, under the jurisdiction of the new code. Council already mentioned the release. I'll just go through them very quickly. All this is in the context of an undersized isolated lot case, so many of the deviations are direct correlation to the dimensions of the lot that is. So lot area required under the new district is 3,500 square feet, as mentioned earlier. This is a reduction from the prior code of 5,000 square feet. We come in at 2,484 square feet. So technically a variance is required for this, but as this board knows, it is a pre-existing condition. The lots on both sides of our property are already developed, so there's no option to annex those properties and enlarge the size of our property. Similarly, lot width existing is 25 feet. The requirement is for 35 feet. This is a reduction from the prior code, which was 50 feet. So at 25-foot proposal, we still need relief. This is very similar to the lot area. It is the existing width of our lot. There's nothing we can do to change that given the development pattern in the immediate vicinity. Side yard.
When you say development pattern in the immediate vicinity, just briefly, what is that?
The adjacent properties are both two-family properties and the lots are fully developed. So there's no opportunity for us to acquire those properties in an effort to enlarge our property.
That was testified to the last time.
Yes.
Continue with the relief.
The side yard, as mentioned by council earlier, existing 1.3. Under the new district regulations, 5 foot is required. We're proposing 3-foot setback. The side yard both existing 3.7. Under the new regulations, 10 foot is required. We are proposing 6. So again, a variance relief is required. In my opinion, that's not only partly a function of the undersized lot, but it is our effort to try and fit the proposed development on this lot in a way that accommodates decent-sized rooms throughout the house. In my opinion, you could look at this as a C2 relief, in as much as if you were to grant us this deviation for the side yard, given the surrounding land development pattern, given the design of this house, there'd be absolutely no detriment to the public good. In fact, it's going to comport with what one sees when one walks up and down this section of Cortlandt.
Would you review your observations with regard to this application?
Yes, in my opinion, this application fits within the context of the surrounding land development pattern, is responsive to this board's comments about the last application for two-family. We have managed to, I think, appropriately size the development on this lot, and given the new land development ordinances, we are actually much closer to complying with the code than we were previously.
And any legal issues you need to review with regard to the variances being sought?
Other than what I discussed with the D2, I would just mention the Dolmier case, which acknowledges that undersized lots should be reviewed by the board with an eye's understanding that in the absence of lots adjacent that can be purchased to increase the size of the lot, the board should be cognizant of the limitations of undersized lots and be careful not to deny the owner's ability to develop that lot simply because it is an undersized lot.
And is it a typical isolated lot case?
Yes, it is.
I have no further questions to this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any questions by members of the board here, of the witness?
Is there an architect?
Are we gonna get an architect in this?
No, that's it.
No architect?
If you got questions about the building,
Yes,
George is prepared to answer them.
okay.
Mr. Lano?
So, I guess the ground floor has a bathroom in it?
Yes.
What
It's a
is that?
small powder room off of the family room.
What is that, a door to in the back?
That's a door to the rear yard.
So you come in the front door, correct?
Correct.
Right? And you go right to that family room,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And at best, look,
The intent, my understanding of the intent was, if you walk in the front and you go beyond the garage to the rear, you have the powder room, that's where the family time would be spent, so it's easier to use, access to the powder room there than having to leave the family area and go upstairs to the second bathroom, which is I think full size, and the rear door with just access to the backyard from the family room. So one could contemplate, I guess, family with children, adults with children, children enjoy some time in the family room and then walk out to the back.
I'm a little confused.
Okay, shoot.
So, we have a bedroom, I guess that would be is that the first level? Or is that the third floor? Third floor, we have a master bedroom, right?
Correct.
I see a bedroom here. Right, so there's bedroom, so it's 3 bedrooms?
Yes, you have the bedroom, if you're looking at the site plan,
Yeah, please.
the number 3, second floor, number 3 bedroom is at the front. If you go to circle number 4, third floor plan, you've got bedroom number 2 and the master bedroom for a total of 3.
So, we have a bedroom with a living, on the floor with a kitchen and living room.
Correct. It's really a function, it's a narrow lot, narrow house.
Yeah, I get it.
I think I see what he's noticing. On the ground level,
Correct.
you have a family room.
Yes.
On the first floor, you have a living room.
Yes.
And then on the third floor, you have a sitting room.
Yes.
It's like 3 different living areas.
Let me share my thoughts on that.
Let's put it this way, we don't want this being switched into a 2 or 3 family house.
Okay.
Okay, that's my
The
concern.
client-
I know Mr. Valano's concerned.
The client understands that. I've explained it to her very clearly what
Maybe
the
not
board's
clearly
opinion
enough.
would be.
Go ahead.
So I would only submit, notwithstanding our sensitivity to that issue, I would only submit that it's not uncommon to see that type of layout, particularly for a narrow house. I will tell you that home I grew up in Montclair, we had a similar arrangement. Not as many floors, but we have a family room, a living room, and then we have a study upstairs.
But, you know, and I'll come right back at you. So, if you're gonna have 2 bedrooms on a third floor, you normally don't have a sitting room. You have 3 bedrooms. So, I'm gonna be blunt. It doesn't look like to me.
The bedroom count or the,
No, I mean, the layout of the bedrooms, let me put it that way. The way the bedrooms are usually in one location,
one level, one floor?
one of the levels, okay? But, you know, yes.
Mr. Valano, I disagree. I just did a
Yeah.
project for Pulte in North Caldwell where they have a bedroom on the first floor in every one of the buildings.
Okay, but you're talking about ones with a substantial size house, correct?
Well, I mean, they're 3,000 square foot homes.
I don't want to go 2,000 square.
But they all have bedroom, the whole concept is a bedroom on the first floor and
What's the size of
some
this?
upstairs.
Total area is 2,644.
Yeah, I guess my concern, and I'll be direct about it again, because nobody likes what I do.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
What's that, Mike?
I'm gonna be direct, and so I'm concerned about the living quarters or in the basement. That's
Well,
what
that's ground floor, I don't think it's a basement, though, right?
Right. There is no
It's not a big
basement.
ground floor,
Correct.
bathroom, and the door out to the backyard.
Well, that's a half a bath, right?
Yeah, it's a powder room.
So, I know.
If you wanna make it, if you guys wanna approve it, I would make it a condition.
I can't hear you, Frank.
If he is to
If you
approve it.
want to if you want to approve
Make
it
it a condition.
and make it a condition, my client would very much appreciate it if you leave the door just so family can go out to the back. And you want to take the bathroom out, they'll have to go upstairs, they'll climb upstairs. But if the kids are playing downstairs, they'd like the opportunity to be able to go out to the backyard.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, keep it a half a bath, you know?
Yeah, I think what his concern is, the family room is like 21 feet by 12 and a half. It's a big area. I understand what he's talking about.
So that's my only comment, that's it.
Right.
Well, I expected it would be,
I'm not gonna change, Ken,
but she's trying to make a nice one-family house.
I understand, I get that, and she's limited in what she can do, I get that. That's my only comment. I leave it up to my peers.
So I would just offer one comment, because I neglected to mention that. So on a proposed floor table in the center of the site plan, Commissioner Valano asked about the square footage, 2,644 square feet. The applicant reminded me that in the table, the zoning table, that number just didn't carry over when the adjustment was made by the architect. So that's a typo, and that would be just corrected on the record. It should say 2,644 square feet instead of 2,480.
They accidentally copied the previous square footage.
Regarding parking. What? Regarding parking, let's go over the parking lot.
So parking will be provided on site in the front, and I'm just looking on the plan. The paved area to the right.
Either you or her.
You gotta speak up,
I'm
Kathy,
sorry.
you're gonna say something.
Yes, so it will be one inside, right, and one outside. You do need the variance for the three, yeah.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Well, you do need, what is it, one per bedroom, one per,
No, we
but,
don't-
I mean, it's a family.
There's no variance for parking, we have 2 spaces, that's what's required.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, you don't need that.
That's the question I was trying to ask.
Because, the entrance, otherwise they'd be parked in front of the entrance.
Question. So,
Just
It's wide enough.
a quick question. You just indicated a modification in the proposed was it the square footage of the lot? It was
No,
2,484.
what he indicated was, there was a mistake in the table. The total square footage is 2,600 some square feet. The architect, when preparing the zoning summary chart, accidentally copied the existing square footage and put it in the proposed. So the existing building's got 2,484 square feet, the proposed
I
is
see your point.
2,644.
Council's right though, I see. So this number is the floor area. So actually there wasn't, you're right, Mr. Rego. There
Okay.
is no mistake. I misunderstood. So this is the lot area, this is the floor area.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have lot
Yeah,
area.
my mistake too, I followed.
Proposed lot area is 2,644?
Or even they can be,
Lot area is 2,484.
2,484.
Yeah.
Now, on the right side of the building,
Yes.
the building itself to the property line, what is it, 3 feet?
Yes.
Okay. So how far in is the parking space on the building? It's lined up with the garage, isn't it?
It is.
So is it really 5 feet from the property line or not?
This lays down for a
Because on
second.
the other side it wouldn't be, so the question is on the right, I don't think it's 5 feet of the property line either. Because you gotta remember, it's in with the garage.
Right.
So
It's
there's
gotta
part
be,
of
it's
the
gotta be
building.
some distance in.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gotta have some distance in. I don't know if it's 1 or 2 feet, but it's at least, 1 or 2
It's
feet
gotta be
in.
at least a foot plus.
Right.
Yes, minimum a foot plus. So the question is it really, even if you line it up a little bit to left, I don't think the parking is within 5 feet of the property line.
No, it's 3.
No, that's the building. The building is 3.
Oh, I see,
Parking
I
is
see,
to the
Chairman.
left.
So it's actually further in, so we may gain a little bit of, yeah.
He shows the driveway 3 feet of property line.
The driveway?
Yeah, so she's showing.
The dash line, you're right. That's right.
So it'd still be within 5 feet of the property line, is what you're saying?
Yeah, if
Well,
the
because then
driveway's
it's gonna
three
be like
Maybe
another
4, yeah,
2
maybe
feet
4
before
feet.
you could put the
Yeah.
car in.
If the driveway's 3 feet, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions by members, or is that question answered? Let's put it down. Or is it still confusing?
Right.
What Mr. Harretts is pointing out is, that, and which I was not familiar with, obviously we haven't,
We're all getting used to this new zone.
new ordinance. There's 3, it's 1 parking space per bedroom.
That's what,
So we would have to put 2 spaces in the front, which we can fit 2 spaces.
that's.
And we would
There
then
would be enough,
encroach.
there would be enough room for a space in front of the door?
That's what my comment.
We then would encroach on the 5-foot.
Okay. So we're gonna
We
have
need
2
that
parking
variance.
spaces, 1 on each side, and 1 in the garage. It's gonna count the
Correct.
3rd parking space.
Which is not dissimilar from the surrounding area, but
Yeah, that's true.
So he's right.
Yeah, and there's no steps, because it's all on ground level where you go in. So technically, there won't be no steps sticking out, correct?
that's correct.
Now let me, now, if you look at number 1, proposed site plan, and we're looking at the, I believe we're looking, unless this is the old one, there is no platform in front of the doorway, is there? Is there a cement
I'm
platform?
sorry, Mr. Chairman, where are you looking?
Is there a platform in front of the front?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Q5, number 5.
It's VAR1, Q5, whatever you want to call it, right on the right side. Yes, here we go. There it is, right here. It's further back though. Yes. There is a slab. You'll still be able to fit the car in with that slab sticking out? How long do you have to have for a car space? 18. This looks like it's going to go right up to the slab unless you make the slab smaller. Maybe cut it in half. You see what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure I do.
Do you see
Doorway.
line of candle?
The cantilever?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, yep,
See to the left?
yep.
That square area?
I follow you now, yep.
Now you said that should be cut in half into 1 step or something. It is 1 step, I believe, but that should be cut. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough room to fit the car there. Am I correct?
Yes.
He's got a couple more feet to the sidewalk, as long as he clears the sidewalk.
That's what, yeah.
We're okay.
This is a 25-foot wide lot. Am I
That's
correct?
correct.
Yes. And the width of a car is what? 9?
8.
8?
Okay.
Well, let's say 9. Under our order, I think it was 9. So 9 is 18, so you still have space.
Yep.
If it's not, the width of the car is not 9. It's
What?
It's less than 8.
It's less than 8?
The parking space is not, the car.
Oh, parking
Car
space. Well, that's what I'm saying. Now you have parking space 9, 9, 18.
Yeah.
And if it's
It
25
works.
foot wide, there should be no problem.
Yep. Okay. So it's gonna need to reduce that back.
Okay?
No.
So that would have to be maybe cut short, so you can fit the car.
If necessary, the pad, we could reduce it. I don't
Because
think
you only have a
it's
front yard
necessary.
at 20 feet. Am I right? Isn't that what it was, front yard?
Yes, yes.
So if you have 20 feet, and you have that sticking out,
Well, we may have to cut the pad a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying.
the width that we really probably require is something
I'm
like
not talking about
16
the,
feet.
well, yeah, I can understand with the width. My worry is more about about this sticking out of the house.
Yes.
Because we only got 20 feet to play with.
Right.
So I would cut that in half. I think it's only one step, so what's the big deal of cutting it in half?
Yeah, we can move it so that we can fit 2 cars.
Yeah.
I'm still a bit confused about the parking situation. And probably it's because of all the changes to the zoning ordinance. This unit has 3 bedrooms, but you don't need 3 parking, you only need 2?
No, we need
no,
3 now.
You need
This is a 3-bedroom house.
Right, so it
One
needs
in the
to go-
garage and 2 out
2
front.
up front.
One per bedroom.
One per bedroom, that's right, that's what I was assuming. So 2 out front, but one of these parking spaces out front is technically front yard parking,
Correct.
which is still illegal, even with the new zoning, right?
The answer
So we
is
give them a
yes.
variance.
The answer
Then we
is
need a
yes.
variance to allow front yard
You
parking,
would need a variance. Correct.
That's correct.
which was an issue we dealt with the last time we heard
No,
this.
the last time they had 2 in the garage, tandem,
Right.
Tandem.
plus 2 or 3 outside.
This has 1 tandem.
Right. Well, it's not really
In the
one
garage,
tandem,
yeah.
it's only 1 in the garage.
Yeah, I mean,
They had 2 in the
I
garage,
know,
tandem.
but 1 tandem. One in
Front and back, front and out, in and out. Yeah, last time it was like 3, 2 and 3, yeah. I agree. And then 1 to the left, they did have the 1 to the left, so it was 4. Yeah. Because at that time it was 2 and 2 for 2. Okay, so now we're down 1 parking space. Compared to the 4, the 2 family. Is this resolved, or is there more questions?
No, I have nothing else. I mean, I
So
just
we're
a brief
done.
summation.
Am I done? Any members of the public have questions of this witness based upon testimony? Any more questions by members of the board? Any members of the public wish to give testimony on this application? Seeing none, Mr. Gassion, you may sum up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's an isolated, undersized lot case. Obviously, we were here for a 2 and were turned down. We now are seeking a 1. Previously, there was a 50-foot requirement for the front yard, for the width in the front. It's now 35. Previously, 5,000 square foot area, now it's 3,500. The side yard was previously a total of 14, now it's a total of 10. We have substantially reduced the size of this home. The parking complies to a certain extent in that we now could squeeze in 3 spaces. Obviously, in trying to keep up with the new ordinance, we didn't realize at some point that 3 spaces were required. But we can do it. We'll move the pad. We'll need a variance for parking in the front yard setback. There clearly is no adjacent property available. This, if approved, eliminates a major eyesore. There are 2 relatively new 2 families on either side, therefore no land. This is a hardship of the property, clear case, it's 25 by 100. There's nothing my client can do. There is nothing she can buy, there is nothing she can do. A denial of this would zone this into inutility. She tried for a 2-family, was turned down. She now came back for a 1-family. Now, Mr. Villano's concerned about the basement being potentially used for a living accommodation. Obviously, my client would like to have a nice 1-family based on the fact that either side of her are 2 families. But she understands, if Mr. Villano or any other board members are concerned, that she will take out the half bath. She really would like to leave the rear door if that's acceptable to the board. Obviously, any approval can be conditioned upon eliminating that half bath if that's a concern. I thank the board for their time and attention.
Mr. Villano, I'll leave it up to you to make the motion.
I'll talk about it.
Well, I figure you're satisfied with it.
Thank you anyway.
Oh. Go ahead.
No,
Anything to say?
no,
You have nothing to say.
no,
So you're agreeing,
no,
you
I'm
want,
not putting anything, I'm listening.
well, here's what
Continue to talk.
I have nothing to say. I'll just make a motion to approve and get it over with.
Okay,
Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Lopez. Any conditions, such as the bathroom on the first floor and the back door?
Well,
I would prefer the bathroom be eliminated.
Okay.
I have no issue with the way it is.
So the question is from the board, do you want the bathroom eliminated on the first floor? No? No. Anybody? I guess you're outvoted.
2 parking spaces in front,
Yes.
normal conditions, 2 years to, for construction.
Yes.
Only single-family use. The question is, the door and the half bath on the first floor senses the,
They think they should remain.
They think it should remain. So since the board thinks it should remain, it remain, right?
I don't have an issue with the half bath on the ground floor. My only concern is that this, I like the design of this. This is a really expansive, single-family home with great features, including the sitting room and an office or den. My only concern is that with these 3 bedrooms and this great amount of space, that at some point down the road, a few walls are going to be put in, and this is going to be turned into a 2-family. But that's not our, I guess that's not our concern. That's code enforcement. And somebody else has to deal with that. But I'll just, give the benefit of the doubt that the applicant really wants to put a beautiful single-family home here that happens to have
I'm
3.5
not okay.
bathrooms and 3 bedrooms.
I'm okay with losing the argument. I just bring up this again.
I just hope it remains
I'm not one
one
of those guys
family.
that go with the flow, like some people.
Let's put it this way, we're being very nice, don't take advantage of playing. Okay? I'm very to the point. So I have a motion and a seconded. Clerk call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Caruso.
Yes.
Lopez.
yes.
Bosso.
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Milano.
Yes.
Del Garcia.
Yes. Approved 7-0.
Thank you for your time and attention.
Okay. So I'm gonna try and get this last case out of the way. ZB 2019-11, 160 DeWitt Ave.
Thank you.
Clean the dumpster.
I'm gonna wait for 6. That's what I feel like. Before we come
Mr. Gassion, do me a favor, go home.
Oh, I'm socializing for a second.
Well, good, socialize on your time.
My God.
Yes, we have a new face tonight.
Gina, how are we gonna notice the publication?
Yes, all good.
Yes, ma'am, you may start.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. My name is Marcia Moore from the law firm of Coles College, on behalf of the applicant, 160 DeWitt Avenue LLC. Tonight, we're here to propose.
You're not the only one who's done it.
Speak into the mic. Tonight, we're here to propose.
Sir?
Do you need to be
Sir.
over there?
This is recorded from this way, so you want to set it up over on this left, on this side.
This is a 2-story rear addition of approximately 484 square feet in order to convert an existing 2.5-story frame, single-family dwelling, 2-family dwelling into you're here tonight because it's an oversized lot, and my client is seeking to convert a 1-family home to a 2-family home. We are tonight seeking a D1 use variance because the zone does not permit a 2-family dwelling. In addition, we're seeking to demolish the dilapidated garage and create off-street parking, which would create 4 off-street parking spaces.
Just want to close that door. Get some privacy.
Yes, don't want to look in this house.
I am in receipt of Mr. DiLorenzo's denial letter indicating that we do need a D variance, as well as a C variance since we're demolishing the existing parking space. There are no other variances, so I do have 2 witnesses tonight. My first witness will be our architect, Wayne Custine, who will discuss the design the existing site. And last but not least, we have our planner who justify the D1 variance, both in respect to the positive and negative criteria, as well as enhanced proof on the Medici case. So first, I would like to call my first witness, Wayne Cuscone.
Sir, could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Just state your name and spell your last name, please.
Wayne Guskine, Guskind.
Thank you.
And Mr. Cuscone, please state for the record your education and background.
I have a master's degree from Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I've been licensed since 1989, so that's 30 years now. I've testified throughout northern New Jersey on residential house applications such as this. Not here, though, I believe.
And you're licensed in New Jersey?
Yes, and I'm actually licensed in 6 other states as well.
And you said you testified before the board's capacity, and you've been accepted as an expert in architect, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, we'll accept it.
Mr. Cuscone, you're familiar with the project, correct?
Yes, I did. I did the drawings.
Okay, can you give the board an overview of the existing site and what the project entails?
Sure.
Now, Mr. Guscon, I'm assuming that what you put up on the board is the exact copy of what we have.
Yes.
It's not been
It's not
modified.
been worked.
All right, we don't need to mark
That
it.
one.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. As already mentioned,
So we have that marked as A1?
You may want to flip around.
Okay.
Yeah, A2. A1's the notice. A2. No. We're not, I'm sorry, we're not marking this.
No, it's
We
the
don't
same
need to.
right
We
now.
have it. But A1 would be the notice, the next exhibit, if any, would be.
as already mentioned, this particular site is oversized, and the application here for a two-family is strictly for use and not for any bulk variances. As you can see, the existing home is a very small home, and my client came to me and thought about the idea of adding to the back of the house to preserve the front of the house, which does essentially remain the same, so that it will still be in character. It will not be an oversized looking house from the street. And so, as you will see on the site plan diagram, the addition, the two-story addition, is in the back of the existing house, and really not very visible from the street. It's also perched up, so you don't really see it that well. As you see, all the zoning tabulations are at the top, and the only ones are for the permitted use, and I guess as a result of that, the families per acre.
And just if I can go background, you indicated that this is an oversized lot. 5,000 square feet is required on the zone, but this lot is actually 9,100 square feet, is that correct?
That is correct, nearly double. It's a very deep lot. Just quickly, if the existing condition plans are here, you can see it's a pretty small home. It is not in good shape. It has deteriorated over the years. So this project obviously would benefit the existing house, would be upgraded and be, part of the entirety of the two-family home. So there's a picture of the house now. It's kind of overgrown vegetation in the front and what have you. So I'm going to flip to the A1 sheet, which shows what we're proposed to do, which is essentially take the first floor and expand it back. So it would be a two-family home, first floor, and it's connected to the basement, and the addition actually has a crawl space, not a full basement. This would be a two-bedroom unit, and you still walk through the front of the house, so there's no side entry. There is a rear entry, or rear exit, similar, to get to the backyard, because obviously you'd want to go straight to the backyard. But the idea would be that you would still use the main front entrance. And you can see this is now a much better unit, much more livable unit than kind of what was there before. The upstairs, if you go to page A2, sheet A2, similar kind of layout with bedroom, 2 bedrooms, kitchen, dining room, your usual components. This does have 2 bathrooms, it's nice, and then there's a master bedroom, has its own bathroom, And this unit is connected to the existing attic. It is an attic, it is not livable, it's, you know, it's livable space, but it is not really, it's got the sloping ceilings and all that. And my client wanted me to make it so that the addition could also be more of an attic for storage as well up there, so that it could be used for storage. It is not a bedroom upstairs, okay? And on sheet A3, you will see the exterior elevation. So, which includes the rear, the side, and the two sides, and the side. Excuse me, I should have mentioned that there are decks off the back, and so that with steps to kind of add some nice aesthetic appeal to the rear of the house. I think this would be a real benefit to the community in this area, the neighborhood, this kind of house.
Right, so there is, we're also demolishing the existing garage, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that existing garage currently violates existing setback?
That is true. I'll go back to this garage is right up against the side, and it is in really deteriorated shape, and would like to remove that and just, the cars are right now parked in straight in tandem, and we would just continue that over, into the, on the proposed plan. The idea is that it would be removed in a gravel bed or whatever kind of pavement you would suggest we could do.
And that would create how many spaces?
Minimum of 4. There would be at least one parking space available per bedroom.
Are we making any modifications to the facade of the home?
Well, we're going to re-side it and bring it up to whatever the entire house, the new addition will be, the siding material will be taken around to the front and around to all sides, yes.
And with respect to any aesthetic improvements, what if any modifications?
Well, the stair in the main hall is also in bad shape, so we're improving a lot of the interior structure, and all the existing kitchens are all going to be removed, and everything's going to be modernized. It'll be a brand new home, even though basically half of it's existing, it'll feel like it's all a new home.
I draw your attention to a letter dated July 8, 2019 from Mr. Harry. Did you have an opportunity to review that letter?
Which letter?
The letter from Mr. Harry, July 8, 2019 engineering plan.
Yes.
And there were some comments and recommendations with respect to a seepage pit. Have you reviewed that letter, correct?
I did.
And we have no objection, the applicant has no objection to any conditions referenced?
No, we don't.
Similarly, have you had an opportunity to review the design letter by Mr. Di Lorenzo?
Yes,
And those were the similar comments referenced in that letter, is that correct?
that is correct.
And the applicant has no objection to it?
I don't object to that.
I have no further questions.
The question was, does the applicant object to it?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I don't, well, we spoke with him.
Okay.
So, I think,
No.
yeah, take parking spaces, maybe you just be a little more clarified for me, how exactly it's gonna flow.
Okay. So have you heard the question presented with respect to the number of parking spaces? We're demolishing the garage, and you indicated that there's going to be a minimum of 4 spaces, and the question presented was how would that be, that would flow. Just answer that question.
Well, I think what we may have to do at the back, where the garage is being removed, is to provide an area where you can possibly widen it and turn around at the back, or it's just straight in parking. That's what there is now, and there's no way around it. There's no real alternative to other than stacking the cars.
My question is, I need a definitive answer. I'm not sure, I don't know.
Well, we plan on having the cars stacked and,
So you're gonna have 4 cars stacked.
yes.
How is that?
Right, that's
You have 2 family
units in this property and you're gonna stack 4 cars one behind the other? Does that mean that one tenant has to proceed?
Can I ask you a question? Since we're talking to the architect, I don't want to hear the architect, I want to hear the owner. Is the owner here? I think we should talk to the owner because they're the ones who's going to use the place. And he may give designs, but like he said, we can't get a straight answer out of an architect. We can only get a straight answer out of an owner. So can we have the owner, please?
Could I ask, what is the total square footage of the proposed addition? I don't know, I thought I heard it mentioned before, but I'm not sure.
It's 1,023 square feet.
That's the new
Addition.
addition.
Right. First and second floor, not the crawl space,
Got it.
habitable space.
Finish with him first?
Well, I think we should suspend him, get her in here, and then after, if we have any architectural questions, we can ask architectural questions. But the way it's going to be utilized, the way it was acquired, everything is all from her. So I think we should ask her first. Actually, I think she should have been the first witness, to be honest.
Okay, could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear that your testimony shall be the truth?
Yes.
Could you state your name and spell your last name, please, and please speak up?
Jutta Sales, S-A-Y-L-E-S.
S-A-Y-L-E-S, and your first name?
Jutta, J-U-T-T-A.
Thank you.
And Ms. Sales, are you a member of 160 Avenue DeWitt LLC?
Yes.
And you're the sole member? And you're also, is 160 DeWitt Avenue LLC the owner of the property?
Yes.
And when did you acquire the property?
That's May 10th.
May 2010, this year? Okay, and you purchased the,
2019.
19 or
I'm sorry, May 10th, 2019.
That's correct.
Correct?
Yes.
You purchased that property. And we're here tonight seeking to convert the home from a single family into a two-family dwelling, is that correct? And is the intent, if the board is inclined to approve the application for you to rent that property? Okay, maintain ownership? Okay.
She's gonna have to, are you
have to
picking
speak
her
up.
up on the microphone or anything? I
Yes,
don't think anyone can hear you.
Yes, being recorded, so you just have to speak up a
Okay.
little clearer. And you heard the question that currently there's an existing garage. Describe that garage. What condition is that in?
Not by vote. I'm sorry?
Is it not by good condition? And you can speak, I know I'm asking a question, but you
Okay,
just
I'm
direct
sorry,
your
I-
answers to the board. Not very good, it's in bad condition, is correct?
Yes.
All right, and you're seeking to demolish that garage, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and you're proposing to provide 4 parking spaces.
Yes.
And is the intent to have those parking spaces 2 behind each other?
Yes.
So 1 for each bedroom? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were not having 4 parking spaces behind each other, the intent is to have 2 and 2?
2 and 2 next to each other.
Well, that's not one per bedroom, because I believe there's 3, is it 2-bedroom apartments or 3?
2.
Each one is 2?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
One shows 3.
that's what I'm saying, I'm a little confused here. I could swear I saw 3.
in a minute.
Oh, we're gonna look at that nonsense? See what I'm talking about now?
There's only 7 each of you.
This is the existing.
Can I ask her a question? She said she bought this property, how did she acquire this property? Was it from the previous owner? Was it a foreclosure? What are we talking about? Foreclosure, okay. Yes, Mr. Valano?
So, it was a foreclosure, right?
Yes.
You bought a 1-family, correct?
Yes.
In a 1-family zone?
In other words, you bought a 1-family in a 1-family zone. I gotta speak a little louder, you should use the mic.
The mic don't work.
Doesn't it work?
No.
Works for me, I don't need it. Anyway.
So, you did a foreclosure, they won a foreclosure a one-family foreclosure in a one-family zone,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other, go ahead, you wish to give more testimony?
No, I believe that's what I spoke the testimony regarding ownership and
All right, anybody, wait, don't run away, honey. Questions? Wait, people have a right to ask questions from up here.
I wasn't clear on the parking situation. So you're saying, and I haven't confirmed this, Judge, whether it's two bedrooms per unit or one of them may have 3 bedrooms. But
There's
it's
2 bedrooms in this.
two bedrooms
2
per
bedrooms
each
per
unit?
unit, yes.
Okay.
Now, there's also a window though from this attic. Is this attic was used as a room?
you're talking about currently or?
Yeah, well, when she bought it, I mean, I haven't gone up there, I don't know if she's gone up there, but if you look at the pictures, and I was there today, there's a window up there, like the attic was being used as a room.
It's a sloping ceiling, and there's enough headroom up in the center of it, but it's very minimal. And there's no closets.
Listen to me, Mr. You're saying very minimal. I got windows, at least from viewing this, on 2 sides, maybe 3. No, 2. Well, maybe 3, I can't see on that side. But if you notice at the picture, your picture, there's a window in the front, there's a window on the side, and I think there's another window on the other side. Okay, so you're talking about 3 windows. That's a lot of windows for this crawl space, nothing to be up there.
He says you can stand in the middle, I think is what he said.
I think it's
They're
more
not
than just stand in the middle. That's a big high up there.
They don't look like regular sized windows though.
No, I agree that there's smaller windows, but I feel you could have a bedroom up there.
Yeah, it's too
Well,
small.
it's an attic, it's quickly, it's like maybe 6 feet, you're good. And then boom, it's just, there's nothing much else on going,
Well,
in
I've
there.
seen where it drops. People
Right.
put a bed on the edge.
Finished?
And they have the living room
Somewhat
area in the
finished,
middle.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
The intent of the testimony is that it will not be utilized as a bedroom, and if the board is willing to grant the application, I'm sure the applicant will make it a condition that it will not be utilized as such.
Okay. This is a D1
It's a
application.
D1 use variance.
And this is a one-family zone, right?
Right.
Can I ask my question now?
Yes,
Still not-
I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, it's okay. So what you're saying is that on the driveway that is currently there, where the garage is, that's going to be torn down, you have sufficient room to be able to park 2 cars side by side,
Yes.
and then a car behind either one of those 2 cars.
Yes.
They're not going to be all 4 in one line.
2 and 2.
2 and 2. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions by members of the board?
Yes, so just to follow up on what Manny asked, I'm also very concerned about how they're going to put two and two.
Well,
If I'm looking at the very first page, the site plan,
17 feet apart. I mean, 17
the driveway,
width in
the front is 16,
right, we have a picture, we have a picture.
16.69 feet, and then,
It's a party driveway. Oh, the driveway, the next door neighbor's driveway is right there. The picture of it. It's not wide enough to do.
No,
at one point, the driveway available constricts where this overhang from the first floor exists. It's only 14.3 feet. Well, so you're talking about splitting that difference in half, that's only seven feet per
I think
car.
what would be needed is the garage would have to be demolished,
Yeah,
and then they would have to move even further back in order to have the parking on each side.
that's probably true.
That's the only way this would fit. And you gotta remember, it has to go further back, that doesn't interfere with the extension that they're putting on the building in the back.
the lot in the front is only 16.69.
And then,
We were just talking about 8 feet each car. You can't do it.
You need 9, mostly.
It's not.
It's not.
Right,
Right, and then the car is 8, and then with the opening of the doors,
this isn't a shared driveway.
You know, if you look at
go to the
the,
front, you might.
The driveway's on the right-hand side.
Share.
Yeah, but if you go back, there's fences there, and there's buildings.
but I'm saying, but if you look at the driveway, you can't back cars out like this.
No,
You
no.
can't back, you have to do one or the other.
and then there's this extension on the first floor, there's a slight overhang where that constricts the space down to 14.3 space. So even if you were to park 2 cars before that extension, 2 cars behind, you're going to always run the risk of
Keep
backing
them
into
side
the
by side.
house, trying to navigate out of that constriction.
Let me ask you a question. Everybody on the map, you see where it says tax lot number 2, lot 6904, all the way in the backyard? That's the only way you're gonna be able, back there is the only way you're gonna be able to put 4 cars together side by side. You have to go all the way back there. That's it.
Parking area in the back.
But there is,
Is there any reason why that wasn't implemented into this project, the parking within the back,
Utilize that area back there?
behind the house? What's wrapped in that?
No, it's just, you know, lawn and shrubbery and stuff. It could be addressed, absolutely, as a, we thought there could be enough room to kind of put cars side by side. It's tight, and maybe also just where the garage is presently, you could get 2 cars, but it does bottleneck at where the house juts out. I mean, to be honest, yeah.
can I ask the elephant in the room question? So why a 2-family?
We thought about bringing that itself down to a 2-family.
What? Can't hear.
If I can, we do
Ma'am,
have
put
planning
the
testimony
speaker
as
to
to the justification, we believe why we want to do a 2-family. If you're doing your testimony that there are other 2 families, I think that would be a benefit to the neighborhood.
In this 1-family zone?
It is in the 1-family zone, that's why we're here for the D1 variance, but there is other 2 families within the dwelling that we believe will not be a detriment if it's converted to a
I
basement.
believe the planner will be testifying.
Yes, so we do
Planner
have planning
testimony.
testimony, we do have a plan,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I'm anxious.
Okay, any other questions by members of the board of the architect or the owner before we get to the plan?
Is there, is any possibility of making use of this very large lot and putting perhaps a 2-car garage in the back of the property so that you would have two cars in the garage, 2 cars in front, and leave this driveway as is, just a single-lane driveway, so that you wouldn't be trying to stack or put tandem cars I know it would be an additional expense, but to go about this in a responsible, sane way for the sake of the people living in this building than having a 2-car, you have such a deep lot. Most lots in Belleville are not even, just 100 feet. You've got almost double that to put a proper 2-car garage in the back of the lot, take advantage of all this extra space, and have two cars in, 2 cars in front, and that way people are never going to be inconvenienced.
What is the side setback for a garage, if you don't mind me asking? I know I should have, because I didn't address that issue. Does anybody know? 5 feet?
No,
More?
it changed. You're on the no zone, yeah. Maybe less.
No, he said maybe less.
What's
Less.
less? It might be-
He said, I think it's going to 3.
No.
I think it's going to 3, I think I heard that too.
Yeah, I think it might be 3.
0 less, okay. Well, we certainly are amenable to that. I'm just concerned, it is a lot of room, let's say, in this 882 feet, but it's not very wide. So, obviously, if there was the garage, as long as it can stay on the side, I think it would work, as compared to with a setback, and then, these 2-car garage, like 22, 23 feet. Next thing you know, it's like eating up the whole backyard. You couldn't even see past it, But we know that parking is paramount. We know that it's always about parking. So unfortunately, whatever, so we're amenable to that, and if the side setback, we'll work with that, and we'll, just much nicer, or if it's could be, how much is it? 1 foot. 1 foot? Yeah. Wow. All right, well, I think we can work with that.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a garage. It could just be spots in the back where they pull in
Yeah.
sideways.
But we'll look at
Walk sideways. You don't
I hear
have
you.
to put in structure. But I think the tandem parking in this driveway here is going to be a nightmare for your tenants to get in and out of there. They're going to be walking on the
1, 2,
street.
3, 4, then they can.
Yeah,
You can't take it off of that?
Suggestion, let's say when the cars go into the yard, they all park to the left,
Behind the house.
not even tandem, just park to the left.
So, yeah.
And then they can back out and drive out straight
Yes.
instead of back out.
You have to build a little parking.
Little parking, and then
landscape
you
it a
can
little
even
bit.
keep
Yeah.
the back as a nice grassy area.
Right.
Beyond the cars.
We could do that.
Right.
We could do that. Yep.
That's a good idea. Yeah, no garage at all, yeah.
Right.
Now they park to the left,
Yeah.
and
Pull
then they
in,
back
turn
out,
left, and
and
then back,
then
like a
they
K, like a
drive
K
straight
turn.
out. They drive straight out.
Okay.
Any other questions of either of these two witnesses? Any questions by members of the public of either of these two witnesses? Oh, yes, come on, come on up. Name and address.
Victor Mafucci, 61 Continental.
Use the mic, please, use the mic.
Victor Mafucci, 61 Continental Ave. Just a clarification on what you were just saying
Go ahead.
about the parking. They would be able to cater, so they drive forward, out, they wouldn't have to
Right.
back out.
Right.
Okay.
It's a 50-foot wide lot. It's a
Okay,
50-foot
that was it.
wide lot. So it's plenty.
Instead of backing out.
Any other members of the public wish to ask any questions? No. You may call your next witness, please.
At this time, I'd like to call Jerry Even, our planner.
Sir, could you raise your right hand? Thank you. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your name and spell your last name, please.
Jerome Leslie Eben, E-B-E-N.
Jerome with a J?
With a J,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
And Mr. Even, if you would state for your board, your qualifications, your educational background, and what license plate you hold.
I've been before this board before. I'm an architect and a planner. I hold, my licenses are up to date, and I also hold interior design certificate in New Jersey, and my last count is about 19 licenses across the nation. I've testified in front of this board and other boards, planning boards and zoning boards in New Jersey and in other jurisdictions, and
So your current license is...
my current license is
active.
good, and I'm on the zoning board in my hometown of West Orange. I was on the planning board, now I'm on the zoning board, and I was on the zoning board 30 years ago.
Were you ever on both boards at the same time?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
So you're calling Mr. Even as a planner?
For purposes of tonight, you would be testified
Thank you.
as an expert in planning, professional planning. Rather than go through a question and answer, we thought it would be better if we can just have him do a narrative. So for purpose of this application, can you just walk through the board? First of all, you're familiar with the site, that's correct?
I'm very familiar with the site, very familiar with Belleville, because I've been here before. I'm familiar with your planning board, with your master plan, and now the document that was updated, and the zoning ordinance as well. And some of you may have remembered me. I know Mr. Yogershel, and I know Mr. Milano, and I think I know Mr. Caruso.
So we're famous because we're aged.
Well, you're famous, but I'm
We're
not as famous.
the longest serving members of the board. Maybe that's why you remember us.
Maybe that's why, and I've been here several times before.
So we've indicated that this is a D1 use variance, as the use is not permitted in a single-family dwelling. Can you just walk through the board, the proofs that's necessary with respect to the D1 variance, and then also respect the demolition of the garage?
Yes, I'm just going to go through my testimony, which I prepared, and I think it'll be similar to what Mr. Williams previously did on his testimony as a planner. I have an understanding that in the period of the past decade, there has been a resurgence of interest in Belleville and the larger urban area that it is attached to. Almost a dozen years ago, I testified in Washington, D.C., in front of a congressional subcommittee in regard to the potential benefits of this fact, that the future land use plans will be focusing mainly on redevelopment. I agree with using the phrase that is within your re-examination report, that is, and I quote, re-urbanization of the population. I see it as a very positive statement. The adopted report serves as a guide for you as members of the Zoning Board of Adjustment when applications like this one that I'll be testifying to come before you. Belleville Township is a diverse community where the goal is to have neighborhoods that are becoming empowered with better housing and support services for the citizens that live as well as work in Belleville or nearby. I am familiar with the 19 goals and objectives that were presented in 2009 master plan. Some of those have remained relevant a decade later. In preparation for this evening's testimony, I've read the Township's denial letter from Mr. E. Lorenzo Jr., and I agree with what he provided in saying in that in accordance with 23-7, the use is not allowed, and that we are here today for approval of the D1 variance. In addition, we propose to demolish the detached garage, and will be asking for approval of the C1 variance for that. I also received a copy of the letter from Mr. Thomas Herritz. How do you pronounce your name? I got it right. Your engineer, and he's a planner, and he's also a land surveyor, and I will address the proofs for positive and negative criteria. I visited the subject property and the surrounding area for several blocks in all directions out from the site. I did so at different times during the week so that I can get a picture of how the neighborhood works, the last time being in the heat wave of 2 weeks ago. I stayed mostly in the car. It was too hot to go outside. The existing 2.5-story wood frame dwelling at 160 DeWitt Avenue is located on a 50-foot wide by 182 long parcel just under 100 feet in from Home Street, running north towards Rosemore Place. DeWitt runs north and south, except for a small section of that street further north, which is a one-way going south, crossing several intersections of the streets that are running east and west. Just to give you a picture of the area. The site is in an RA1 single-family residential zone. However, there are several existing dwellings that are two-family interspersed within the zone. The most noticeable of these are the two houses just around the corner that face Home Street. And there's another one further down on Home Street. Those two dwellings just happen to be larger in volume than what we're proposing here, and they're on much smaller lots. The first 4 properties on Homes share a common property line with the subject property, and I'd like to point that out to you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
When were those homes built?
I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay.
You read my mind. So what I want to show you here, you got your picture here. This is our lot. This is the lot, the first two-family house. This is the second two-family house.
You may want to swing around to this side so the board really can't.
I'm left-handed, so
I think at this point, we are referencing as to what sheet you're referencing for the record.
that's Mr. Gustein's T1 sheet, which has the two site plans, the site plan of the existing and the proposed site plan. So if you just look at the lot, you can see that Mr. Gustein showed the 4 lots, almost completely all 4 lots, which are obviously much narrower, or they may be about 45 or 50 feet wide, but they line up on the 182 feet. Just the last lot slightly goes over the back of our lot. So that shows you that the buildings there, these 2 are two-family, then there's about 3 or 4, one single-family, and then there's another one on the next corner, which is about, I think, is a 3-family house. It's a huge house. So that's the difference here. And this is really, in a sense, attached to this part, and I'll get into why we think we can make it, why we think two-family would be viable from that point of view. All right, so I'll just continue. Just wanted to give you that picture.
Before he goes on, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, the houses going, these lots going down the side.
I don't have good hearing, so
No
come
problem.
closer.
These houses, there's 4 lots,
Right.
right here, right? They visually look like two families?
No,
Or you know they're two
I
families?
know they're two-family. I'm going to get to that.
Okay, I hope so.
There's, the easy way to find out whether that two-family houses, when I do a survey like that, obviously I can't go onto the properties. So the first thing I look for is mailboxes. If there's 2 mailboxes, I kind of think there's 2, but if there's 2 electric meters, that convinces me that they are two-family houses.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I hate that.
You
You
hate what?
just said I hate it. Why didn't you just go down to town hall with a list of the block and lots and find out what they are?
I could do that.
Well, that would be the right way to do it, because that's the legal way. Just because there's two mailboxes, or there's two, what do you call it? You know how many cases come before us and they're illegal illegal apartments? I'm talking about what's legal.
What's legal?
What's documented. And also, if that is a side street, if that's in the same zone, because there's certain places where one street may have one zone, the next street may have another.
It's in the same zone.
It's in the same zone.
It is in the
All right,
same-
at least we know that. So that meant you had a map.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
Look
so
at
you
that.
had a map with block and lots. All you had to do was go down to the assessor's office, see what they're assessed for.
You're correct, I didn't do that.
Well, that's the way I do business.
Okay.
And I'm the chairman of the board, and when I go looking at a case, that's what I do. Okay.
I certainly could
Well,
have
since
done that.
because you're on a board like mine, that's why I'm saying,
Well,
like ours. yeah.
well, I'm gonna ask that question next time someone comes up to my board. I'll
Okay,
ask that
good.
question too.
Very good. Well, maybe you
All right.
learned something here.
I did
Okay,
learn
good.
something. No, I've done.
We always
I've done it-
learn.
I've done it both, I have done it both ways, and I
Yes,
appreciate your criticism, and I accept your criticism, I'm under oath, and that's what I did. All right, so that's how I did it. You're right, those are two-family houses based on the meters, but not based on me going down to the city hall.
Okay.
Okay? So that's all right. Just to go on from there, the difference between the two properties are that our property, of course, is 9,100 square feet, almost double the required size of 5,000 square feet in the zone. Therefore, it's my opinion that it can easily support the proposed addition without any need for any of the bulk variances. We designed it, Mr. Guskin designed it that way. We didn't want to have any bulk variances. The reason for the removal of the detached frame garage, as Mr. Guskin had testified, is really from a safety concern. We believe that it has outlived its usefulness. In addition, it currently violates the side property line, so eliminating it while still accommodating the parking would substantially improve the property. And we've already discussed how we can do the parking. There are several properties in the area without garages. In fact, the next 8 lots going north on DeWitt do not have garages, and some of them don't even have driveways. Of course, the lots are much narrower than this lot. So they're without garages, and the only day that you can't park on the street is Wednesday during street cleaning. There is ample parking for those dwellings that do not have garages, or because of the narrowness of their properties, they do not even have driveways. Therefore, I do not see the elimination of the garage as a huge problem, and I think we've discussed that. We can handle the parking on our lot any way you wish, all right? Let me go on. I would like to point out that to the board members, that upon purchasing the property and securing title, the applicant spent some time cleaning it up, removing several filled dumpsters of debris that had accumulated there over the years. With the completion of the, otherwise I wouldn't be here, because I'd like to do the same thing in my board. With the completion of our testimonies, Mr. Gustein's and mine, they will continue to improve the property with the construction of an addition that simply works but leaves the improved street facade looking like a single-family residence. The renovation and upgrades would include new windows, siding, roofing, as well as an extension of the driveway and new landscape. From the planning perspective, this proposed project would support some of the community's goals carried over from the 2009 master plan the following ways. There continues, and I'm really quoting from your master plan, there continues to remain a need for a variety of housing types that are available to residents of varying income levels. In approving this project, the township would be encouraging the rehabilitation of the existing housing stock through code enforcement and rehabilitation. The township would also encourage higher density development as part of the comprehensive mix of uses. To continue to encourage a balance of land uses, recognizing the need to facilitate the redevelopment of transitioning areas. The township must also continue to recognize and identify areas and parcels of low investment, underutilization, and dilapidation that are easily susceptible to change. This is a lot that is can easily be changed. to provide for the preservation of older residential neighborhoods and getting to the old houses.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Did you say you're going by the 2009 master plan?
No, the 2009 master plan is there, and the re-examination plan, which was adopted during 2008, which was discussed during 2018 by the planning board, was adopted January 10, 2019.
Okay. Oh, okay. I thought you didn't realize it was a...
No, of course I realized it,
okay.
and I did, I got the plan and
Okay.
read it cover to cover.
Very, very good.
All right. This, let's see where I look. Oh, housing stock. This is an important goal, but because since the last master plan, because the existing housing stock, in the last master plan, the existing housing stock was mentioned that it was most of the buildings were built prior to 1939. They're even older than I am. It also says in the re-examination report, there were less than 300 units have been constructed since the turn of the century, since 2000. And the ensuing opportunities for rehab and reconstruction are in place at the municipal level is paramount to maintaining an adequate housing supply in the township. The approval would in fact help maintain and enhance the character of the township. Code enforcement serves to maintain and enhance the character of the township's well-established residential neighborhoods, increases the desirability and contributes to the financial health of property values in the township. To enhance the community appearance and the visual environment by encouraging good design for new and rehabilitated buildings. Both municipal boards will ensure that the design of such projects is compatible with the established buildings and uses. Ours is. And while remaining sensitive and respectful to the surrounding uses, ours does, in my opinion. Most certainly, Mr. Guskin, as the architect, provided a positive improvement in the overall appearance and in the visual environment through his good design for an existing rehabilitated building that will enhance the character of the neighborhood, while at the same time remaining sensitive and respectful to the single-family zone. In essence, creating positive curb appeal in the streetscape architecture. The positive criteria, the proposed use is not allowed by the ordinance. Mr. Guskin, as the architect, has designed numerous dwellings in a similar fashion and has one, and as the one who he, my English is bad here, similar fashion as the one he has presented earlier this evening. The elimination of the vacant rundown residence will help the neighborhood and by extension the community. His design improves a structure that is still structurally sound and his beautiful and tasteful interior renovation, along with the addition when completed, will become a benefit to the zone that can easily be supported on this oversized lot. Despite becoming a two-family unit, his design will continue to blend with the surrounding existing neighborhood. I'd like to say blend much better than the ones that are existing on homes, but I've said enough of this. The members, as members of the zoning board, you can see by the testimony offered that there is no detriment to the public good, and approval of this project can be granted without substantial impairment in the intent of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. As far as the negative criteria, regarding the negative criteria similar to the Medikey versus BPR company case of 1987, the courts explained that substantial detriment as follows. The first prong of the nonconformance requires that the variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. And within this zone and right on this block, there are several other two-family dwellings. They exist among the single-family dwellings without any detriment to those dwellings in the single-family zone. I would describe the proposed use as one that serves the complementary needs of the surrounding residential district and the trans-regional market. By continuing to add such use provides a clear need outlined in my earlier testimony. In my mind and in my opinion, the opportunity exists for this type of use at this location as the lot serves and can easily support the proposed increase in the size of the dwelling. The very large specific site is particularly suitable for this proposed use. The proposed dwelling and the addition are not incompatible with the neighboring land uses. and do not alter or adjust the integrity of that zone. Concerning the negative criteria, again, despite the official change in use, increasing the density of the site is easily handled by the site itself, as it is nearly doubling the zone. The renovated structure will definitely be an improvement to what is existing here for many years, as follows. Remaining as a residential use, the noise levels would be basically the same. The traffic volumes would not really change. The overall, there will be less impact on the surrounding properties with the goal of improving a vacant and rundown building, as I explained. And note that the community has evolved over the past few years with improved residential properties like this one, and are well maintained and will, and hopefully, I think it will, instill others to do the same. Therefore, it's my opinion that in accordance with the master plan and the municipal land use law, there is a balanced land use pattern that preserves the existing while at the same time improving the potential vibrancy of this neighborhood, because the site is particularly suitable for the proposed use. This concludes my testimony. Thank you. Questions?
I have no further question of Mr. Eve, unless the board has some questions.
I got to come over here because I can't hear. Here it is.
How many multifamilies are within that? How many multifamilies?
I counted 6 by my visual, but I probably should have done exactly what Mr. Delgertia.
Was that within a block, 2 blocks, next block?
No, in the same block, there are a few, and then on homes, there were 3 on the north side of the street, which balance to our property, which is running up there. And then we're 1 block away from the 2-family zone on Loyal? I'm trying, forgot the name of the street. I think it's Lloyd Street, right? Lloyd Street. Lloyd Street is a 2-family zone. Just south of Lloyd. That's what I looked. That's what the map says anyway.
I go down Lloyd, I see only one family.
Well, there may be 1 families, but it's a 2-family. It's just beyond the start of Lloyd, where Lloyd Street comes in to DeWitt. Am I right? No, not a magnifying glass.
That's a block away, Lloyd.
It's a block away. Yeah, it's a block away. That's correct.
That's Mayor Kimball's street, and I believe that was all one family homes.
It is.
Yeah,
It is more family.
it is all one family. And Lloyd only runs, if I'm correct, DeWitt up until Union Avenue.
On DeWitt.
Yeah, but that's the other side of the street where your house is. Your
It's-
house
it's
is,
one
your
block
house is on the east side. Lloyd is on the west side. I don't think Lloyd goes past DeWitt. No.
DeWitt goes all the way to, Belleville Avenue.
Union Avenue to,
Union is parallel to DeWitt. Belleville
Lloyd
Avenue.
don't go to Belleville. Lloyd, no.
No.
Lloyd is
DeWitt does.
perpendicular.
DeWitt does.
DeWitt.
Oh, DeWitt does. You said
DeWitt, I come
Lloyd.
down Belleville and make a left on DeWitt. That's a 2-family zone.
Listen to me. Let's make it the way I understand it.
Okay.
Lloyd goes from Union Avenue to DeWitt. Okay? You're on the north side
Correct.
of Division, on the east side of DeWitt, where Lloyd is on the west side of DeWitt, a block away.
Correct.
Nowhere near Lloyd.
It's 1 block away,
On the opposite side of the street.
on the opposite side of Holmes.
Yeah, no, on the opposite side of DeWitt. DeWitt, where your house is on the east side of DeWitt. I went by it today,
Correct.
okay? Lloyd Street is on the west side of DeWitt, going up to Union Avenue. It's a 1-block street. It goes from DeWitt to Union Avenue.
It goes to Hornblower. It goes to Hornblower.
Goes to Hornblower.
Lloyd
That's
goes
what
to
I'm-
Hornblower.
Oh, it goes 2 blocks.
It's 2 blocks.
Oh, it goes 2 blocks, okay.
The
I
two-
thought it went 1.
What I'm trying to explain is that
Union,
the
DeWitt, and
2-family...
Hornblower are the 3 blocks that cross Lloyd.
Right. And so, what I was trying to say is that the 2-family zone is just south of where Lloyd crosses DeWitt.
A block away,
A block away, yes.
because you're on the north side of
Because
Division,
I'm on the north side, that's correct.
not Division, Holmes.
Holmes, that's correct.
Any questions? Mr. Milano, any questions?
That concludes his testimony.
Yes, I think it does. Does that conclude your testimony?
That concludes my-
Okay, any questions by members of the board of the witness? Any questions by members of the public of the witness? Okay. Do you wish to, any members of the public wish to give testimony on this application? Okay. You wish to sum up, ma'am?
Just briefly, I believe our architect and our planner justified both the positive and negative criteria. We have heard the comments from the board, and the applicant's willing to comply if the board so willing to grant the application. Respect to the attic space, not to make that a bedroom. Respect to the garage, suggestion of either providing the garage or parking to the left to create ample parking spaces. Again, this is a B1 variance. Mr. Even has indicated that there are ample other two-family dwellings in the neighborhood that would not create a substantial detriment, and the question is substantial detriment. Again, this is an oversized lot existing of 9,100 square feet. There's ample space to create this two-family home. The requirement in the zone is 5,000 square feet, which is almost double the size. So it asks that the board grant the B1 variance as well as the C variance.
One of our members wants to ask a question of the owner. Again, please, we can call her back up.
Hi, thank you. I want to ask you, the access to the attic, is that going to be from a common hallway? Is everyone going to be able to access that, or is that going to be limited? The architect write down?
The architect probably answer that.
The access to the attic is strictly with the upstairs, Unit 2. The first floor has no access to
No
the attic.
access to the attic?
Correct.
Attic area?
Correct. Just like the basement is only for the first floor, the second floor does not have any access to the basement.
So are your tenants on the second floor going to have access to the attic?
Yes, second and
The second
attic,
floor,
and
though,
first and basement.
And not first, right, not the first, but the second, and it'll only be accessible to them.
To them only. It's within the unit.
And what will you allow them to use that area for? On your lease, let's say on your lease.
The design, can I answer, was contemplated storage, and be limited to storage as specified by the architect, would just be limited to storage.
I want to follow up. So you said that the first floor will only have access to the basement?
That is correct.
So where are all the mechanicals?
Well, they're probably either going to be in the basement or partial of the attic in the back, and we'll work it down. I mean, that's...
So they have access to it? Your boiler goes out. You don't have no, they have to have access to the basement. Correct? Tough question.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
You have two heating units, right?
You have to put it in the attic. Yeah.
Just something doesn't quite right to me. Just too many unanswered questions.
Put in the attic, Jim? Units in the attic? In the back of the
I
attic?
don't care what you want. I'm just saying, you made a comment that
Has not been thought through
from
right
the
now.
attic, first floor to the basement. I asked a common sense question.
I have an interesting question, the architect is. I'm looking at the proposed construction second floor plan. And I'm looking at the, is that what you can see? The proposed bedroom number 2. See bedroom number 2 there?
Yes.
In the front.
Right.
This is very interesting. I've never seen anything like this. A person would have to come out of the bedroom, go through the living room, all the way around the living room, past the kitchen, to go around, to go to the bathroom, to take a shower. Am I crazy, or is that what I'm seeing?
That's what you're saying.
One has nothing to do with it.
But that's because we wanted to have it, you know,
And there's also the stairway there to go upstairs into the attic.
right.
But if somebody wanna use the attic as another bedroom.
If you use this bedroom, 6 feet wide. Listen, they could use a walk-in closet
I
if
see
you
my
wanna get
brother
like
do
that.
it with his
It's not
house.
99 or
I don't think it's large enough for.
No, it isn't. It really, I mean, it's a sloping ceiling. This bedroom, this bathroom is a common bathroom, that's why it's arranged like that. I agree, it's circuitous, but it's for...
Because the master bedroom has its own
Right,
bathroom.
but if anyone, the guests were over, they use that bathroom, you follow?
I
They don't have to go
understand.
through the bedroom.
Well, I understand, but to use the bedroom, to go through the living room and to the kitchen just to get to the bathroom? It's a little wild. But, all right, okay. Any other questions by members of the board of the plans or any witness?
Yes, just to follow up on what Manny was asking a few moments ago regarding the possible use of the attic. The new addition is also extending the attic. So
Right.
you have two areas in the attic, two possible rooms. The existing front area, which has got a width of almost 11 feet, it spans the entire width of the house, and then you're going to be adding another attic area, which is 8 feet in depth and also spans the width of the house. It was, the testimony a few moments ago was that the likely use of the attic would be for storage, but you're putting in, with the new attic section, more windows. It seems to kind of be a ridiculous,
Well, we wanted to...
you're putting in windows for
We
storage.
wanted to actually, it's aesthetic, I know it may not, because it was just, wanted to add some dormers and just for appeal. And also, I mean, it is a low ceiling and it is sloping, just like the existing, okay? There's no closet, I mean, I understand people do what they do afterwards, I'm aware of that, but it is not, that's not the intent.
If I'm reading the plans correctly, you'll be able to walk between the two spaces in the attic through the midsection.
Right.
There's also that common linkage between what seems to be two, there's small rooms admittedly, but there's going to be two rooms in the attic if this plan is realized. And then there's a common walkway between those two attic areas.
Right.
And that walkway between the two attic areas is also, again, it's not a huge space, but you're looking, just trying to ballpark it here, again, it looks like it's about 8-9 feet wide and at least 10, possibly 12 feet deep. It just
But
seems to
again,
me that there is
these
a
stairs-
good
these
amount of
stairs-
space upstairs.
They're just, the sort of habitable area that's defined by the building code. It's like you have to be at least 5'6" height. It's probably like 6 feet wide, and even that starts to slope, like from 5'6" up to like about 7 foot, because that's what it is now. And so it is really a storage area predominantly. I mean, it's not intended to be, if you wanted to put some stipulation as, you know, whatever, and maybe want to mention that, we could we'll be amenable to that.
Oh, you have to wait for it.
There would be access from the outside.
There we go. It's hard to see. Okay. Any other questions by members of the board? None of the public?
Well, I do have one lingering concern here. If we approve this, we're allowing the two-family to go into the RA1 zone, which is strictly just a one-family zone.
And I believe the RA1 is a 50 by 100 foot zone minimum.
And there's been some testimony from the planner that he did some sort of walking tour and counted mailboxes and heaters, but I would be much more comfortable if we had an official listing of the housing situation in this area, within a 200-foot area, so we knew what legally exists in this area.
And when those houses were built, because technically, as we've had before this board numerous times, at one time you could build anything, anywhere. That doesn't mean once they made zones that these things were built after they made the zones. Okay, because at one time, we've had a number of applications, Mr. Gassion brings them all the time, and in those days, the zoning laws were very liberal. You could build this, you could build that, now you can't build it anymore. Once you can't build it anymore, that was the case.
We all know why, so here's the question.
Go ahead.
So we can move on.
Go ahead.
Either Mr. Sheldon's point gets entertained by the applicant, or it doesn't. And in which case, if they don't, we vote on it. And it is what it is after that. I'm not gonna belabor this, everybody talking about it.
Could I just make a statement?
Sure.
So my statement is it's a one-family house, it's in a one-family zone.
Agreed.
It's a large piece of property, and a lot of the properties are a large piece of property. And it's nice to keep that aesthetic as a large piece of property with a great backyard, and a nice-looking, single-family colonial house.
All I was saying was that if they wanna entertain his thought, that's up to them. I don't offer that, but I know, I heard the testimony. And, when it's time for us to deliberate, when she is finished, counsel, when you're done, we can deliberate and decide what we want to do.
Can I have an opportunity to speak to my client?
Sure.
Before I freeze to death.
You know, it's nice to get a nice cold night. Back in session. We're on the tape. Everything's running? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I've had the opportunity to speak to my client, and we are respectfully asking for an adjournment, twofold, to do some further investigation of the permitted two-family homes, as well as to make some modifications to the plans based on suggestions by the board.
Okay. I think that's a very
I'm assuming the modifications would be with regard to the rear yard.
That's correct, it's a parking.
May I suggest, after you do your investigation, it's up to you, but it might be nice for the board to have some sort of
I'll make a diagram.
aerial with how many legal, proper, multifamily houses are in the
My only
neighborhood.
problem is what if they're not legal?
Well, that's your problem.
We want to know if they're legal and within 200 feet, because the 200 feet radius is the key to all this. Okay?
Yeah.
We need to keep in mind what our colleagues said, and I said 3 times before. It's still one family.
Yes, it is still a one-family zone. That's true.
Okay.
I don't want to give anybody the impression that if they find 4 families and 2 families in it, that has any bearing on the application.
So you want to adjourn this to the September meeting?
That is correct, September
Correct?
5th.
So we'll adjourn this to September, I believe it's September 5th.
Yes.
Yes, 2019. Anybody else in the audience? No further notices in the newspaper or in the mail. And 7 p.m. here, and hopefully we'll get it done that night.
Do we need any extensions of time?
No, because it's the first night it was here. It's the first time, huh?
Okay.
What?
No.
No, we're adjourned.
Motion to
Get it?
adjourn.
Hold that question in your mind until September 5th.
Write it down, tell them. You want the heat on it.
Okay.
Supposed to be September.
Motion to adjourn. Adjourned. Did you get that paper?